Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for your patience. We are now here with the League of Legends Grand Finals. We've been playing the games all weekend. We have two pretty awesome teams here fighting it out in a best of 5, one coming from the upper and one coming from the lower bracket. We have a couple of ETs to show you, introducing the two teams that we have here today. So first up, sat over here, we have, coming from the upper bracket and enjoying a 1-game advantage in this best of 5. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Aerox.
We prepared pretty well for this tournament. We played 3 days a week for about 8 hours. We entered in ESL tournaments as well, like on the Sunday. And we were just basically focusing on expanding our champ pool and adapting to the meta. So we just thought we'd come here and prepare a little bit more than all the other teams. Whilst the patch was patched before the day of the tournament. So we thought we would just prepare by trying to adapt a lot faster.
We didn't have a name. Nobody really knew who we were. Like, we're all like brand new players. Like, apart from maybe Propaganda, he's quite well known in the UK scene, but maybe Milkyard, but everyone else is just like high tier UK players that no one knows about. And I just wanted to make like a dark horse team that would come in and people were like, ooh. But
going into the event, the team they knew what they had to do. It was just a case of getting here and trying to beat the expectations of a lot of teams. So a lot of people said Aerox are nothing, they've come from nothing online, and they won't show up at LAN. And we've come to the event and we've just really proved that what we've put into place, you know, it only shoots better for the future. We can put more into it. You know, this now gives the team a lot of dedication themselves and motivation to push forwards. Going into the future, obviously it's nothing but benefits now for this team. You know, they have the motivation, they have everything behind them, and they not only have like everything going from this event, but from ourselves, we're going to give so much more to these players and so much more time that we possibly can. Like, we would pull in like 2-hour sleep sessions every day for 2 weeks running up to this event.
And going up against them, sat to your right, we have going through the gauntlet of the lower bracket and then winning in the lower bracket final. They've come through a hell of a lot to be here, and they definitely deserve their space on this stage in these finals right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Choke Gaming.
Before the tournament, coming into it, there wasn't really much preparation. We were just kind of a LAN mix that came together. We're all pretty individually talented. We're made up of the top 3 like established UK teams. So just thought we'd come with Choke, come to iSeries and see how well we can do. So coming into today, we're pretty confident at least making the finals through the winners bracket, but then getting upset 0-2 in the semi-finals was quite a big shock. I think a lot of it was just lack of respect, and we were still kind of half asleep. Didn't really expect that kind of competition from a team in the group stage. We 20-minuted quite easily. So now that we've kind of woken up, as you saw from our run today, we're I think 6-0 in games. I'd imagine we'll take the final as well in the same way.
Well, I think the guys were a bit surprised by Aerox Esports. We were touted as the UK super team coming into this Insomnia, so there's a lot of pressure got put on the players' shoulders. And I think the guys now knowing how the other team play, they're used to the snow. They've all been on the grand final stage on Insomnia before and other big tournaments in the UK, so I think they're ready for it, and hopefully they've learned from that 2-0 loss.
We're not going to let our guards down in the finals, and we're going to focus and win. Better picks, we know what they play now. We'll probably ban better and everything, prepare strategy against them.
I think if the guys do what they know best and they use their experience, they should win it and they should walk away as champions.
And there you have it, guys. Those are your two teams for the grand final. Incredibly excited to be bringing these to you. I am Jorisar. You will be seeing me again probably at the end of the series, but most importantly, I'm very pleased to be able to bring your commentators for these League of Legends grand finals. We're going to be heading over to Action Jackson, Ex-Scoundrel, and Vedius. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you very much, Jorizar. We are here at the casting desk, about ready to get into some games. I'm really looking forward to it. Some awesome teams and players in this finals. How are you guys feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited. We've seen both these teams come a very long way. Aerox, a bit of a surprise to be in the final. They were considered seed 5 coming into the tournament. To make it this far, pretty big upset, especially their game versus Choke.
Yeah, and Choke came in as a mixed team, so picking up a lot of people from different teams before this LAN started. Most people had them pegged as the favourites to take this all the way through the winners bracket. And like we said, Aerox Esports, they are the Cinderella story here. No one had them pegged as a team that would come in fighting, and they've swept everybody away, and a lot of it is down to that teamwork and I guess, cohesion they have as a 5.
They do a really good job of picking compositions where if they work together, they can just snowball the game. They picked a lot of pick compositions yesterday in some of the games that I cast. What do you think about the comps there, might run?
Well, it was something that Ex-Scoundrel and I were talking about earlier, and what we saw from Aerox Esports in particular was that their teamwork really was on point. They seem to have developed quite a lot of synergy out of nowhere, because this team is somebody that we didn't really know, whereas all of the members of Choke are very well known within the UK scene, and we thought coming in with the talent, with the lineup that they have, they would just be a powerhouse. But from what we've seen, that synergy has taken a little while to develop.
Yeah, and coming in as that powerhouse, like you said, most people expected them, having played on various teams together over the time, they would have a remainder of synergy, but they definitely looked like they were struggling towards the start of this LAN. But that last series we just saw them play versus M&M, they were on fire. I mean, those were some really dominant games. The first one was pushed out quite far, but you never really thought Choke was losing their grip on the game. And the second game was just a display of pure dominance. So they're coming off a very good performance in the final, and that's a very recent performance as well. Aerox has had quite a while to think and prepare for this, but they have lost that kind of rolling momentum that you can gain from just playing League over and over again and winning over and over again.
That's one of the big things which is going to be useful for Aerox, having the one-game advantage coming into the best of 5. They're going to be able to take that extra game if they need it to start getting that momentum rolling again, get into the zone and be ready to play such an important series of matches. Choke, on the other hand, they've got an uphill struggle ahead of them. They need to come back from that disadvantage if they want to win it. It's certainly going to be a tough series.
And something I'm really looking forward to seeing is how well Aerox does in a best-of-5 scenario. Yeah. Yes, they do currently have a one-game advantage, but do they realize that they have to play a lot of games in a row? And sure, I'm sure we've all had those solo queue marathons where we've played 10 games in a row, but it's not quite the same as super intense, high-stress games where so much is on the line.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is, given the one-weight advantage, they are playing a best-of-3 essentially for themselves. So they can be pushed down 2 games, and then obviously they don't have to win 2 to then come back into it. So if they go into the mentality saying, this is just another best-of-3 for us, we can just win 2 more in a row, and we can come away with the grand prize here, upsetting practically everybody that was seeded above them. And that was quite a lot of people if you look down the line. M&M were 3rd seeds, 4th seeds were TCA, 2nd seeds were UPro. All of those guys are gone now, and now it's just Aerox versus Choke, and they have no expectation on them. The only expectation that they've garnered is that of what they've picked up during this LAN. Now they are able to freely walk into this final, and they can look at it like, this is every game we've played so far. We've beaten all these other teams. We haven't yet played Choke, but we've played people who have beaten Choke, or at least taken Choke to out of the winners bracket, or taken Choke to a very competitive game. We definitely have it in us to win this, and win it quickly too.
Yeah, I mean, I think Aerox have shown a great performance leading up until this point, and as a relatively new team on the block, they've got a lot to prove here. This is a big opportunity for them, obviously. Insomnia, the biggest gaming festival in the UK. It's a very prestigious tournament to win, and
it is, yeah.
Hopefully they can take it away.
In general, with UK esports, you tend to say, if you've won Insomnia, you're currently the best team in the UK. ESL, Premiership, and that kind of stuff, and the other tournaments that are going on around this kind of scene do add more spanners into the works. But if we're talking like history-wise, if you win the I-Series, you are the best team in the UK. And
until the next I-Series.
Until the next I-Series, and that's how it always works. But Choke has got a lot of experience behind them as a roster.
So I think that's actually a great opportunity to talk about the members of Choke, because looking at the lineups, we have Numlocked up in the top lane, very well versed. He's been on Choke for an insanely long time, along with DX Alchemist and Chewed Up on AD carry. So looking at these players who have been on the lineup for such a long time, you would imagine that that synergy would already be there between those 3 players.
And this is kind of a throwback to last year, 4 Nations, where Choke took the entire title. That was undoubtedly the biggest UK tournament we've ever had here, and they swept it. They were absolutely a force, an absolute gusting UK super team that came through that entire tournament. And now they're back with 3 members, I believe, of that entire team. That's Numlocked, Alchemist, and Chewed Up, like you said. They've just added Maxlaw to the lineup, who's come off a very successful performance with Infused and with Infinity and Beyond in the PGL, which you two both cast. And Tundra, who's a stalwart. He's been here since the beginning of time. You know, this guy, if you pick a team together and Tundra's not there, it's not really a UK esports team.
Yeah, so talking about Maxlaw, We did cast a lot of him in the PGL, like you were saying, and actually, I think a lot of people didn't give him the credit he deserved there. He did such a good job of really controlling the jungle and setting up lots of things for his team. You know, talk a little bit more about Maxlor's play.
Well, he loves top lane. When we first saw him, he was very much about, I need to help my bot lane out, I need to get them as far ahead as possible. But since their changes to the Infinity and Beyond roster, he could concentrate his efforts onto getting his top lane ahead, and I think that works really, really well with Numlock.
Yeah, but I feel like Maxlor and Alfari had a kind of special bond in Infinity and Beyond. But speaking of special bonds, we're right into the special bond of champion select that we have as casters. So we're going to throw it over and see what's going to go through picks and bans.
All right, so far nothing being banned out. That's going to be the Alawi coming through finally. Riverol has been playing a lot of that in the lead up to this. He played a significant amount moving through the group stages into the quarterfinals. Tom Kench is also going to be banned out here with Lucian. So this is all pretty standard stuff that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, so far nothing too unconventional. The Tom Kench very targeted towards Tundra. He is very familiar on the champion. They do not want him anywhere near that. Lucian also very strong in the current meta, considering how much of a lane bully it is. And the Kindred being taken away from Maxlor. Very used to that champion, very strong in the jungle, and Maxlor can make it work in a number of different compositions.
So Illawai, very good ban versus Aravil. That's something that he's played consistently throughout this tournament. Lucian, I think, is a target ban, or at least a ban that Choke want to take away. We've seen chewed up on hypercarries that don't do too well against a lane bully. Lucian probably arguably the strongest lane bully in the game right now, so it makes sense to make that and pull it away from that. And it's going to be Lulu first locked in here for Choke Gaming.
Surprised that they let that through, to be honest, over maybe even the Kindred, just due to the fact that Lulu we've seen be very, very effective so far. It has been a priority pick and ban through the tournament. We're going to see Tristana and Janna locked in on the flip side, Aerox getting their bottom lane very early on here.
The thing I like most about the Lulu is that I've seen Numlocks play a fair amount of it, and they could put it in all different lanes. They could put it up in the top lane, they could put it in the mid lane, and that flexibility, that versatility is why I think it's a really good early pickup for Choke.
See, I totally agree with you, Vedius, but I am almost certain this will go over to Alchemist.
Yes.
Just because it's not the versatility of Lulu as a pick in which lane it'll go to, it's the versatility to the composition you can play Lulu into now. When you picked a Lulu like this previously, it would be hyper carry, protect the hyper carry, that's practically all we're going to see. Now we kind of see it in more siege-orientated compositions, or if you're looking for that wombo combo that we saw Eminem play quite a lot, they favoured Lulu on Half Past Thor.
All right, so Rek'Sai and Jinx being the next two picks locked in here. We've seen Maxlor playing Rek'Sai an absolute load over in some of the other tournaments we've been doing. Jinx, we talked about chewed up and the hyper carries. Back at the last LAN event I casted, he was playing a ton of Jinx. It hasn't been the most popular AD carry recently, but I'm sure he can make it work.
So far, Choke have had the Choke composition.
Yes.
These are standard picks for Choke. That is very likely going to be Alchemist on the Lulu, Maxlor on the Rek'Sai, chewed up on the Jinx. When he was playing in a challenger team, chewed up, he was known for pretty much only playing Jinx. He is so confident on that champion, and Aerox are just giving it all away to them.
Yes, 100%, but Aerox are also looking to secure themselves some very powerful picks. Mundo, Jungle, and Fiora top. Now, given this is a Fiora top, that's taken it away from Numlock. Now, Numlock played that in the last series, the final game. Absolutely a storm on that. They lane swapped into him, and he was still extremely potent. I would not be surprised to see that Crocodile make his way back into this matchup.
I had a feeling you would say that.
It's something that is... It's quite a volatile matchup, because if you can riposte that Ruthless Predator, it really disrupts your ability to win trades versus Fiora. But if you can force it to riposte and something else, or just harass her out with Cull the Weak, this could be a matchup that Numlock's looking for.
And I really like the fact that they've actually put this Mundo in the jungle, because it's going to be the first time in the entire tournament that we've actually seen this Mundo in the jungle. Now, we are playing on patch 5.24, so those nerfs to the masochism have come in. He's going to be doing a little bit less damage than he normally does, but I still think he has that fantastic duel potential, he has that great wave clear, and that fantastic scaling throughout the game.
All right, you guys called it. We are going to see that Renekton up in the top lane, Thresh being locked in for the bottom as well to pair up with that Jinx. We're looking, hovering maybe towards that Azir on the side of Aerox. Not sure if they're going to lock that in. I'm pretty sure Sona will not be the pick that they go for. Looking across at the entirety of these compositions, though, we've obviously got all of Choke's in. How do you feel Aerox wants to round this out?
So, I'm going to look at Choke's composition specifically here. This is a composition that we have seen from Choke previously already. And it's a good siege composition. They worked it very well, and it's got very good tower dive potential too. We saw them run it in the semi-finals, I believe, and the game before that, and they were running a storm. Numrox got really far ahead on the Renekton, able to tower dive, and then they had really good siege in the form of Lulu and Jinx. So they're running a pretty good siege composition here, and should Jinx ever get caught out by Fiora, there's always that Wild Growth ultimate to help bring her back into existence, or at least keep her from going down very quickly. And they've added Tundra with a bit of pick too, so I really like the composition coming out. It's very standard choke. They have the hyper carry, they have the scaling composition. They have early game in the form of Rek'Sai Renekton, and then it moves up towards the late game with the Jinx. It's a nice way of making sure that there isn't a weak stage of your composition. And Andy Vedius talked about this in the semi-finals a lot. He loved the way that Choke always had what seemingly was a top lane in a very early game orientated pick, then it scaled down to Chewed Up, who we know is probably one of the most amazing positional AD carries in the UK, and an incredible hyper carry on something like Jinx.
And moving over to the side of Aerox's composition, I actually quite like what they've picked into the side of Choke, simply because they've gone for a little bit more of a scaling composition with this good duelist in the form of Mundo. I'm really excited to see it because it's been banned so much since the new changes to Mundo that the dueling potential and the gank pressure is absolutely insane. But overall, the composition scales very well. It's going to hit a big spike in the mid to late game. So for me, Aerox Esports are looking to avoid any early aggression and are basically looking for very passive laning phases. If anything, I expect a lane swap to come out from them.
I'm interested in that, and I think you bring up a really good point, because they have a scaling composition and they're going to want to avoid trading in lane, where they're going up against a composition that only has one lane bully in the form of Renekton. The rest of the lanes, unless Tundra's landing some ridiculous hooks and getting pressure from Maxlaw, those other lanes are going to be quite passive. And it reflects in the fact this is the first time they've seen Alchemist run the Lulu with Ignite. He's not going defensive, he's looking to go aggressive onto this Azir. So maybe we're going to see a different style of play in the lane from Chokes now. They're all looking to be aggressive because they know the longer this goes, the worse it is for them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with both of you guys. And moving into the early stages of the game, what are sort of the things we should be looking for here? You know, Choke, are they going to be trying to put pressure on objectives early, or is it more towers?
Well, the person we need to keep our eyes on for that is Maxlaw, and whether or not a lane swap comes out from the side of Aerox, because based on the matchups, Choke will not go for that lane swap, and if they do, then it's based on what Maxlaw decides to do and where he looks to put that pressure in the early game, because we've seen a lot of lane swaps come out from Choke throughout this tournament, and Aerox, how they respond to that is going to be very determining in how this game plays out.
And for me, my guy to look out for Choke is Numlocked. He has consistently performed on Renekton over and over again, and even been labelled as a one-trick pony Renekton at this current tournament. We know that isn't true, but it just reflects the skill that he has with this champion. And going into a matchup with Fiora, as long as he can force that riposte before using the Ruthless Predator, he should be absolutely fine to win this one out. Now, Andy, or Vedius, I keep calling you Andy because I just know you so well. Looking at the side of Aerox Esports, who is your guy to look out for on this side of lineup?
I actually want it to be Reacts, because this guy, whenever he played Lucian, was a monster. He dominated his lane when they played against M&M Esports. He ran away with it in terms of his positioning, his decision-making in terms of going for fights. He was just on the ball all the time, and I think that if anyone is going to be the major carry, it could very well be him.
100%.
There's a lot of potential here for many people to carry on the side of Aerox. You know, you've got the Fiora in the top lane. Azir can become a monster later on as well, and of course Tristana too. Plus, if somehow they do a good job in the early game and they're able to really deal with the scaling coming out of Choke, there's also potential for Mundo to just become unkillable, especially with the new Keystone Masteries coming in this season.
Totally agree there, but from the jungle, his gold is going to be far more starved than it is in the top lane. Definitely harder to scale as a Mundo from the jungle unless your team is snowballing out of control, and that's maybe what they're looking to avoid here, because they don't want to get into the early game skirmishes because they want to get scaling. So Mundo may just be this sort of defensive type jungler that's going to farm for the majority but counter gank when needed and turn things around if possible, mainly try to avoid things going out of their favor.
But you know what I think that we will see for definite? League of Thunderlords. All of us get the opportunity to be our own special Thunderlords because we are playing on patch 5.24. And if you weren't aware, that mastery has had a few changes that have made it pretty good in the current patch.
Oh yeah, basically the mastery's path to it has had had an increase in armor penetration buff and also an increase in scaling on the AD. So now AD champions are far more valuable with Thunderlord's Decree. And you're seeing it on like literally everybody now.
All right, guys, we are jumping into the first game of this series. Aerox leading 1-0, having come from the winner's bracket. Choke Gaming, they've got an uphill struggle ahead of them, but this is going to be an awesome series. Give it up for our teams.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing how things play out between these teams. The underdogs that are Aerox Esports coming in through the winner's bracket, surprising absolutely everyone, going against the mixed team that is Choke Gaming, full of such powerhouse names that anyone who's familiar with the UK scene will definitely know. I'm super excited to see how well they do. The last time these two guys played in the winner's bracket, Aerox Esports actually came out 2-0 ahead. So if these things can replicate, things could look like one of the biggest upsets in UK esports history.
Oh, 100%. I am so excited to see Aerox perform at the biggest point in potentially their team career. And beating out Choke, they've done it before. Why can't they do it again? These guys have got everything it takes to play at the top level of UK esports.
The question is, will Choke, who now have their backs against the wall, really show up? You know, they talked in the interviews, Tundra, I believe, said they felt maybe a little bit too cocky coming into their games against Aerox. Now that they've seen what they can do, will they have the same mistake here?
Absolutely not. And I've seen an increase of respect from Choke in general the more games they've played in this tournament. Even versus M&M, they were very respectful in the way they played as well. Previous to that, we thought they may have lost out versus UPro by maybe not respecting as much as they should have done. But right now, I think they're definitely going to take this with 100% seriousness.
So having a look across the map in the early game, it looks like the Choke are the ones going for this lane swap. So maybe they predicted it, or maybe they just wanted to go for the lane swap themselves. I have talked about in the past that Jinx as an AD carry isn't actually that great in terms of trading because she relies purely on her auto attack. But during the early game, Tristana has the rocket jump, the explosive charge, and she's got a Janna to support her. So maybe they just wanted to avoid the 2 versus 2.
Yeah, but I also think that Renekton does way better in a 2 versus 1 situation. He has the Cold Meek, he has the sustain, and Fiora relies on farm to get going. If you can deny as much farm from Fiora in the early game, you can stall out that late game power spike, and then that's a really, really good bonus for the Choke Gaming lineup. They're also funneling farm onto their hyper carry without the potential of 2 versus 1 or 2 versus 2, sorry, in that bot lane.
One thing which you got to keep in mind as well is that Jinx, in order to match the shove of Tristana, has to expend mana on those rockets, the Fishbone's rocket launcher, whereas Tristana passively has that explosive charge. So it's going to be a situation where Tree Up might get shoved in. Whoa, knocked up by Maxlore. 4 members of Choke Gaming sitting up in this top lane trying to find that tower.
Had that hook hit, that would have been a dead jungler. Right now, Alchemist taking a bit of damage in the mid lane. That top lane is getting a 4-tower push. It's a very typical of a lane swap here.
So remember what I said in the early game. Maxwell's positioning is going to be very important. And notice how he's only level 2. He cleared the grot, he did the red, he literally went red Raptors immediately to top. That path thing says to me that they planned this lane swap from the get-go. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they almost were able to get themselves first blood in the top lane. They're now looking to set up a siege onto this tower, but Aerox responded very nicely by sending Janna up there so that this early siege isn't going to work out as nicely as Choke had hoped.
Yeah, they aren't going to take this tower very easily either. And what's more important is Tristana versus Renekton is going to start to really punish Numlocked, because he will be unable to get on top of her with that slice and dice easily, especially as Rocket Jump is one of the most valuable positioning tools for AD carries in the game. Tristana has everything in her kit to self-heal against something like Renekton, and having a Janna up here with Fiora will help her get farm. Not only will it help her farm at the turret with the increased auto attack damage, nice riposte though from Arbil to block Tundra there, but not only will it help him farm at the turret with the increased AD, it will also help him survive that rocket barrage coming out from the Jinx Fishbones.
Yeah, that is definitely something to keep in mind here. Right now, things are looking dead even 5.8k to 5.8k. We're actually seeing a rocket jump down in the bottom lane from React. He's turning up the heat a little bit. These ripostes have been on point from Arville up in the top side as well. No crazy plays coming out super early on here. Not a lot of vision coming out from the Choke lineup aggressively, but we're actually seeing Aerox start to push their boards a little bit further up.
So do you remember what I was saying for the side of Aerox Esports? Their big carry, hang on, Well, they're beating me a little bit up in the top lane, looking for a bit of back and forth. But remember what I said about Reax? He is straight up 1v1ing Numlocked in the bottom lane. Yes, he is super confident on this Renekton. He knows exactly how to play that champion, but Reax is just pushing him around like he is a baby crocodile.
Look at the positioning of IOU right now. They want to go for the dive. Maxlor realizes it, and it's going to be a 2 versus 2 at this bot lane.
Yeah, IOU is a little bit deep here with Maxlor coming down. Youth, meanwhile, is going to try and engage on the chewed up. Going to have to flash away. Maxlor chasing on the IOU action all over the map right now. But Prey Seeker not going to do quite enough damage to find the kill. Reacts is going to force Maxlor back.
So bits of action happening all across the map. 2v2 in the top lane and a 2 versus 2 in the bottom lane. Both ever so slightly go in the favor of Choke Gaming, simply because they naturally gain more pressure across the map. They're going to be able to take this first tier 1 tower up in the top lane, and they're even going to get it to bounce in their favor. Very smart play from Choke. I really like this from them.
Yeah, the bounce is really important here, because now it will start to push back towards Numlocked, and hopefully he'll start to get some farm under his belt. He's already out-farming Arvil, and that was in the 1 versus 1 versus a Tristana. What is important about the 1 versus 1 with the Tristana is that, yes, Tristana will harass him, but he should be able to negate a lot of that harass with the Cull the Meek. And actually, the early tower take means that a rotation can come out from Chewed Up and Tundra. A lot of solo experience has gone on to React here. That could be proving vital if we come to a 2v2 in the later stages.
Let's take a stock of some of the differences between these laners right now. We've got a 10 CS lead onto Numlocked at the moment. Obviously, we talked about this, Fiora does struggle a little bit more in that situation. But looking at the bottom lane, React has had a really easy time getting farm, even though he was 1 versus 2.
And this is what I was talking about. This guy is a monster. He is such a talented AD carry, and I'm surprised that it's taken him so long to be known in the UK scene. Simply because a guy of this level, playing at this level this early on, oh, hang on in the middle.
Wow! Oh, what a shuffle coming in. Alchemist gonna pop that wild growth, but has to take the long way around those soldiers. Is gonna flash as well. We might see IOU go for a dive here. He's got that Janna shield. Tundra coming in for the save with a nice dark passage. Doesn't quite land the death sentence on the Milkyard to keep the fight going.
Really odd that we're seeing a lot of action now happen this early in the mid lane, because when you lane swap, you generally tend to see the mid lane become an island. No one ever really puts pressure there, and everyone rotates around it to try and take those top lane and bottom lane tier 1 turrets. But because it was delayed, and because the top lane turret wasn't taken on the first push, we delayed the rotations, and it's kind of gone back to a more standard type of setup we're seeing here, and the mid lane is becoming more relevant again.
Interestingly, we're actually seeing Aerox send Reacts into that 1 versus 2 again in the top lane. They're not trying to meet the 2 versus 2 of Choke in the bottom lane.
Oh, it looks Arvil's going to back off. I think what they're trying to do is they think that Arvil probably has more of a chance at 1v1ing the Jinx than Numlocked has at 1v1ing React. So React is going to be safer, and there's always going to be that threat of the ability for Fiora to all in onto Chewed Up, who doesn't really have that much peel, whereas obviously the self-peel from Tristana is among the best in the game.
Yeah, I think that this rotation coming out from IOU is also very smart, because they recognize that the rotations coming out from Maxlor being used to get the shove down onto this tier 1 tower in the bottom lane is going to give even more map control for the favor of Choke, but they're looking to set up a play onto Arvril.
Maxlor trying to get the knockup, does get riposted.
Oh, the hook.
Sentence follows through, play as well. That's a lot of damage. No rocket needed. That's going to be a pickup for Maxlor.
And I had to point this out, the level difference between Numlocked and Arvil right now is huge. They managed to pull that off, because that was a level 4 Fiora compared to the level 6 Renekton. They couldn't go for the tower dive because Renekton just had his ultimate. Fiora was such easy pickings.
And that's going to be made even worse now after losing his life. I thought that he was going to lose even more farm in this bottom lane, but he is forced to burn that teleport. Not going to have that one available. But look at this farm discrepancy that's developing between the 2 top laners right now. 42 to 18. Arvril has not been having a nice time in this lane swap, and Choke have done a fantastic job of starving him out.
Exactly, and that was the whole point of the lane swap, was to put pressure on this Fiora. You know, I think they wanted to avoid the 2v2, but they wanted to pressure the Fiora more, and you can see she's being delayed over and over.
All right, so right now Choke moving towards the Dragon, first of the game. There's been a lot of talk about how Dragon is obviously a lot weaker relative to its position before the recent patch, but Choke Gaming, when you can take it for free, might as well do so.
It's a free 6% damage boost, basically, and considering that there's more gold in the game, games up faster, and you reach those power spikes much earlier on, that first dragon is just significantly more valuable, and you should look to try and get it as early as possible. But the rest of the dragons, not so much.
Yeah, and the reason we're seeing that is because 5.23 and 5.24 has spawned the type of game that tends to end before 30 minutes. 30 minutes is the absolute minimum time that you would need to get every single dragon if you took dragon at 0 minutes. So seeing games go shorter and shorter, it means that 5th dragon becomes less of a win condition.
We're seeing so much damage coming out of DX Alchemist right now with that Thunderlord's Decree. He's bullying everyone around right now, actually deterring IOU from even venturing into the jungle. Choke are in the lead by about 1,000 gold. How do they keep this ball rolling?
Keep doing what they're doing. You know, just basically look to rotate, look to take towers. If they can try and group up as quickly as possible now, because Fiora is looking to freeze, so she's going to start to ramp up from this point onwards. And they need to exploit the fact that Numlocked will actually be a pretty significant threat at this point in the game. You know, he's got quite a lot of AD behind him. Once he finishes that phage with the ultimate, he should still be a huge threat to anybody that he manages to get a Ruthless Predator down onto.
So one thing that we haven't actually talked very much about as a hook lands onto IOU is that the lineup of Aerox actually has a phenomenal siege composition.
Yeah.
If we think about Azir and Tristana and Janna as a combination, the rate at which they take towers is insanely fast. And they recognize this, so they're grouping up very early, they're looking to try and set the siege up. They've already got the numbers advantage, but the question is, will they be able to take the tower before Numlocked and Alchemist can make something happen on the sidelines?
Oh, Maxwell goes for the flash engage.
Flashing in. The rocket actually misses. It was a bit too short, but Maxlor trying to get away here. Tundra knocked into Reacts. Is going to throw down that box, but it's not going to be enough. DX Alchemist from the side too. Shoot up and Reacts just dueling it out in the middle lane at the moment. And it looks like Tundra is going to be the only casualty for Choke, even though we saw so many low health bars there.
Way too cocky from IOU right there. The flash unburrowed from Maxwell was...
Oh, Numlocked. He's teleported down. He's looking for a few kills. He might easily be able to find Mute, but it looks like Milkyard going to be taking the train right on out of there. Numlocked, oh, he doesn't get there. The minion finds the execute. Very well timed by Mute. Well played.
He had flash as well, so if he really wanted, he definitely could have taken it. That entire engage was just because IOU was being far too aggressive on such a low health value. He didn't have time to pop his ultimate, and he was too low health anyway and got taken down very quickly. If that Super Mega Death Rocket had hit, that would have been lights out before the fight even begun. So I just want to highlight right now a bit of what Anna Venius talked about just before that fight took place. The siege composition from Aerox Esports is fantastic, and they have the ability to disengage should... Yeah, Aerox Esports have the ability to disengage should they... sorry, I'm just sorting out the chat there. Thanks, Jackson. Thanks for letting me know. They have the ability to disengage should the Choke lineup look to engage on when they're trying to siege. They have that Azir wall. It's a fantastic disengage tool.
The thing that concerns me a little bit for Aerox is that we talked about how they're a scaling composition. They shouldn't even be looking for fights right now. There's no need to. Wait for those item power spikes. At the moment, Choke are arguably the stronger team. They have a Renekton, they have this Rek'Sai in the jungle. You cannot afford to go for these engagements because they're straight up going to win at this point in time. Wait for those items to be completed before you go for those styles of engagements.
And actually, Fiora's delaying her power spike quite significantly because they're going for Tiamat. Tiamat's not really a power spike anymore. You don't get that passive wave.
Still hurts.
It still hurts, but it's not as powerful as it used to be. Had she gone something like, I don't know, Black Cleaver first, she definitely would have a higher power spike. With the Phage, that's a big semi-power spike for her. So right now, she's really going to be looking to just try and freeze out that bot lane and farm as much as physically possible. And that is what you're seeing. She has been in that bot lane for practically 5 minutes now.
Aerox, they do have a great scaling team. I can understand the mentality behind buying items that are going to help you later on. Certainly when it comes to split pushing, when you get that Ravenous Hydra, you are able to do it much more quickly. At the moment, though, Choke, they keep turning up the heat. They're controlling vision very well. Look at the line that they're moving up into the jungle of Aerox. Aerox need to stem the bleeding a little bit.
I kind of agree in this sense, but they're still only 800 gold behind. And what's more important is if you look at the methods that Choke have to engage, as IOU looking to be a little bit aggressive here. If you look at the methods that Choke have of engaging, they have Slice and Dice into Ruthless Predator, they have Tundra Hook, and they have the Unburrow from the Rek'Sai, all of which are countered by the Azir wall. There is no solid way of engaging past the Azir wall here.
Yeah, and there's Monsoon as well on top of that, so they've got a lot of great displays on Aerox.
And now that you speak of engage, it's actually quite funny because I'm looking at Aerox's composition and I'm like, how do they start a fight? Because yes, you can do the Shurima shuffle, or you can have Mundo run at your face. I imagine that he is going to work towards that dead man's plate, and maybe we'll see some sort of initiation items come out from Mute. But other than that, as a hook lands on the Milkyard.
Cleanse comes down, yeah. I want to pick a point on that you talked about there, Vedius. I don't think they look for a fight.
Not now, but they will at some point.
They will at some point, but I think they siege. They force the fight to come to them.
That is a very good point. I mean, their siege is very good, but then you run the risk of when you're setting up a siege for making it easier for them to land the pick on you, which is from this Renekton and from this Thresh. So I'm really interested to see how these two teams are actually going to start a fight, because there is no reliable engage, and as I say that...
Milkyard caught out by that death sentence, immediately going to fall. Tundra actually picking up the kill credit there. We might see a bit more. Chewed Up is going to get Buster shot of the way. Maxlord is ignited. He needs to back away from this one. Chewed Up hit by that infected cleaver. He's got to be careful right now. He's waiting for that shield to wear off. The zap comes through. Super Mega Death Rocket flashed at the last second by IOU. But DX Alchemist, he's got it all sorted. Flashing forward, picking up the kill. Yeah,
Cleanse just used and Milkyard walked straight into a hook. There was every chance that he was going to go down immediately. More importantly, I think they missed a kill there.
Whoa, Tundra! He is trying to make a very flashy play there, going for the hook onto Reacts.
Yeah, I think they missed a kill there. I definitely think that Reacts could have picked up Chewed Up, but he used the Buster shot prematurely.
Yeah, that was a little bit premature, a little bit of a mechanical error. Maybe under that amount of pressure, he just couldn't quite make the right judgment call. He realized that there were 4 members in front of him, and he was like, I think I have the burst, I should have the burst, but unfortunately he didn't quite have it. But the bigger thing for me that I want to bring attention to is that Milkyard, in the games that we've cast in the past, he was getting caught out all the time. His positioning was a big problem, and it really made it difficult in their game against M&M to really dominate most team fights. It was really off the back of Riverill and Reese's that they were able, that they were able to come out ahead in fights. Milkyard has a big issue with getting caught out of position, and he needs to fix that against Choke because they will punish it.
They definitely will. That's probably why he's taken the cleanse as well. He does have that fail-safe in the form of a wall that he can throw down if he does get caught out, and maybe if he gets caught out, he can use that as a method for an engagement. A bit like doing the Shurima shuffle, but they do the shuffle for you.
Right now we're seeing Aerox take up position around this dragon. They are being forced back a little bit by the side of Choke. Choke's vision control is just so good right now that they see every place that Aerox tries to move and put down vision. They're using a lot of pink wards to very high levels of effectiveness too.
And pink wards are super efficient right now. 75 gold for what is effectively a permanent ward that very few people are going to find that regularly. So making sure that every single member on your team picks one up is what you want to do. Right now, they're the ones looking to set up a siege onto the mid lane, but the wave clear available to Aerox is very solid. The thing that I want to bring our attention to is mainly these item power spikes, because we need to keep an eye on when these big items pick up. Chewed Up though.
He's getting slowed so much. Just
oh my god!
Flash Monsoon from Mute, but there is the Dark Passage to bring him away, and he actually falls. Now we've got the flank coming in from Maxlord. He goes down very low, but a big rocket lands onto the back line of Aerox. The teleport's coming in. Arville wants to turn this fight around. He's going to pop that challenge onto Tundra, but is it going to be enough? Wild Growth keeping him alive for now, and Chewed Up gets the kill. Milkyard, he's extremely low. Got to be careful of getting poked down by the Fishbones rockets. Numlocked might even go for the dive. He flashes onto IOU. He gets the kill. Choke Gaming find 3-0 there.
Oh my god. Choke Gaming are playing exactly the way they want to. They have their power spikes right now. You've got the Black Cleaver, the Rod of Ages, the Infinity Edge. All of those are huge power spikes for their respective champions. And they have the team fight that scales better. They want to fight at this point in time. AE, they just need to leave Fiora in a side lane. Why are they bringing her into the fight? She's going to be useless right now.
That is exactly it. There is no need for Aerox to force a fight right there. And Mute to commit that hard for an engagement. A Flash Monsoon that just did not work out and effectively baited him into his own death. Just did not work out at all for Aerox. Things right now, the gold gap is getting even bigger. Choke have full control over the map. Just look at all these wards. It is going to be so difficult for Aerox to really utilize their power spike.
Aerox, why are they not playing for the 4-1 split push tactic here? They have a good disengage in the form of Azir. They can always avoid the engage, really, from Choke. Fiora always shines in a 1v1. So why not have a 4-person split push to siege the towers, leave Fiora in the side lane, and then win the game that way?
This is one of those things where Choke Gaming's experience is showing through. They're playing their comp to the win conditions of their comp. Aerox, they're trying to get picks on people with a straight-up disengaged siege comp. Milkyard getting death sentence yet again. You can see immediately how much damage he's going to take from that. Aerox are struggling right now, and they need to stabilize.
I want to highlight how much Tundra has done for Choke right now. He's been the real key to some of these engages, and I think on a champion like, we're going to see actually Alchemist and Riveril.
Yeah, Riveril is going to pop that Grandmaster's Challenge, but he's very slowed up by the Glitter Lance. He can't find those procs of the Vitals, and as a result, DX Alchemist is going to get out all okay.
I just want to point out that Tundra is not used to making the plays of his team.
Oh, Riveril! Whoa! That riposte on the Glitter Lance just about saved Riveril's life. Was very close to getting a kill, and DX Alchemist right now easily able to get that 1 versus 1.
So right there, that was just risky from Riveril to even go for that engagement in the first place. The level differential is absolutely massive. Alchemist completing that Rod of Ages meant that there was no way he was going to win. Milkyard is now the target.
Yeah, this is a bad spot to be in. He gets down the Emperor's Divide, but it is far too late to be of use. And you can see 5 members of Choke Gaming grouping up in this bottom lane. They want to keep the pressure on right now.
The smaller skirmishes is where Choke is going to shine, and they are showing that they are doing a fantastic job of rotating around the map and making this happen in their favor. Like I said, they've got a great dive composition with Rek'Sai and Numlock's on the Renekton.
Oh, mute. That death sentence was perfect. Tundra actually flashing forward for more. Gets the play down onto Arvil, but he's able to back on out for now. Lots of damage coming in from Choke, but only the 1 kill. Maybe they can turn this into another tower, though, if they keep pressuring. They're going to try and play it safe for now, though.
That tower being taken was the get-go really for Choke to go. I don't know why Aerox even decided to stay. They were not in a position to wave clear. Milkyard was nowhere near. He had to go back earlier due to being dead. they had the numbers advantage. There was no way that they were going to come out ahead in that, so there was no need for them to stay. And this is the experience thing that you were talking about. Aerox just not making the macro or just the right decisions in these particular situations.
I feel like Aerox had the potential to stall this out for as long as they possibly could, but they have started to take the skirmishes in which Choke are just winning outright because their composition scales quite linearly. Where you're looking at the AE composition, it scales like an exponential. It's sort of like a bell curve. It has a really flat beginning, and then the end it spikes. Well, they're not at that spike yet. They're nowhere near that spike yet. They shouldn't be looking to fight.
And I feel like at this point in time, they're not going to get a chance to get to that spike.
Exactly.
Unless we go to a 50-minute game, which we've already talked about is very unlikely to happen. The question is now, do Choke know how to close out this game? Because there is a lot of wave clear on the side of Aerox. There are plenty of opportunities for them to just deny Choke from even cracking their base. And if they can't figure it out, if they don't know how to close out the game, things are going to stall out very well for the side of Aerox.
Alright, so DX Alchemist, I like this itemization from him. He's picked up a Sheen, perhaps going to be working towards that Lich Bane. They need to take towers soon. That's a great way of doing it.
Exactly. It plays into the hands of the composition that they're running right now. Taking towers left, right, and center, sieging left, right, and center. And Alchemist with the Sheen, probably likely going towards the Lich Bane, only makes that better. It even allows Alchemist to take this split push role, especially as towers now take more damage from AP champions, and that is only accentuated by the Lich Bane.
Alright, well there are some rays of hope here for Aerox, although for Arvil, maybe not so much. Numlock doing a ton of damage, slicing and dicing all over the place, and finding the kill in the 1 versus 1. Arvil just isn't hitting the power spike he needs.
That was just a straight up bad decision from Arvil. He has not been able to 1v1 Numlock at any point in the game. I don't know why he felt like he could do it when there was a 3-level difference. That's easily going to set up for a Baron. They know they have the numbers advantage. The teleport is available, but Maxwell wants to go for the fight.
Yeah, he's going to tunnel over the wall, but right into a Howling Gale. So the Baron has been stopped by Aerox. Look at the damage Tundra is taking. He is in the flashing red right now, but they still want to go for it. Numlocked is going to be the main tank for this one. Lots of poke damage coming over the wall from Aerox, but is it going to be enough? IOU, he has his flash available. He might want to jump in. He goes in. He finds the steal with a brilliant Infected Cleaver. He dies for that pickup, but that was totally worth it for Aerox.
And that is enough now to prevent the siege coming from Choke for at least 4 minutes, 5 minutes. They've got a little bit of time to play with here, and that's going to be time to get much needed gold.
And we saw this from Choke earlier. When they played up against Eminem, it was Eminem that stole the Baron away from them. I don't know what's up with Maxwell, but he needs to get on that Smite game today.
Okay, Aerox Esports, don't make the mistake Eminem made and now look for fights with Baron.
Exactly.
Just stop the siege. Stop the siege, get the gold, scale up. This is what you need to do to win. This is your silver lining right here.
Have a look at the items. The power spike has been hit by React, and you can see that in the damage that he's doing to Tundra. what you really need now is Milkyard to finish that, what looks to be a death cap, and once he gets that item, along with the Black Cleave on Arveril, that would be the opportunity that you may, and I mean may, win a fight. But you need a lot of, like, the perfect fight to go in your favor. IOU has given you the opportunity. It is very important that Aerox do not throw it away.
Aerox definitely owe IOU right now because that was a million steal coming through. I do want to talk about the Rays of Hope for Aerox, more so than just the Baron, because there are still some other ones. You can see, look at React. He hasn't died yet this game. He has great farm. Milkyard, though, this is not what you want to be doing with the Baron. They're way too far up the lane. Now IOU's going to be the target. Sadism healing him up quite a lot. The Descendant's not landing on React, but there's a knock-up. He actually gets knocked away slightly from those Flame Choppers. Numlock's in the back line, though. He takes down one. He finds two. Big fight for Choke Gaming.
Why, Aerox? Come on. All you had to do was stop the waves coming towards you, but no, you look for that fight, and again, Milkyard out of position. He's out of the Milkyard right now. He's in the milk field where he is.
Look at the difference in vision. All I see is blue everywhere. The only reds I see are at the very top half of their jungle. They have no way of knowing where the lineup for Choke are. They've got a Baron, all they need to do is stall, and this really demonstrates to me the lack of experience of the team.
They had the defensive ward lineup. They could have just sat under tower and got the minions as they came towards them. Now they're going to pay for it with an inhibitor turret, and potentially throwing away their only chance to get back into this game, because this is a 10k gold disadvantage right now, and a 10k gold disadvantage, for any of you that don't know, is a bloody lot.
It really is, and you know, it's only 25 minutes into the game, but you can see already Choke are convincingly in the lead. Aerox still need a while to ramp up. They're going to try and fight on this dragon, which might be a bit of a bold decision. You can see Choke are in a bad spot. Chewed Up has to take that lantern away. Maxwell gets the smite this time. Revenge for that Baron earlier on, and Choke make it on out of there. Arvo actually burned his duelist challenge there as well, so some cooldowns burned for nothing for Aerox.
That was such a confident play coming out from Choke. They knew they had the damage for the dragon. They immediately walked up to it, took it, and they just swagged right out of there. Not even an ability had to be used. No flashes, no ultimates. They just walked out of that one clean as day. They now have positional advantage onto these mid lane turrets, and they may be able to pick up this tier 2.
Aerox doing a great rotation there, knowing that having burned a lot of those mobility spells from Choke, they could run right down the middle lane. Picking up 2 towers at this point is a hefty chunk of gold towards the deficit that they have.
It's a great rotation, but it was a risky rotation. They didn't have the vision to supplement that move, and they could very easily have been caught out like they were caught out before. But maybe that's the kind of risk they need to take to get back in this game right now.
Don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. We've already seen what happens when they've taken those risks in the past and things have not worked out. There's a reason that the scoreline is 14-2 in favor of Choke. They really want vengeance for the 0-2 that they faced the last time these two teams met up.
Aerox, the only kills on them are actually onto Reacts, and I was talking about how he was a ray of hope, but he's died now. You know, he is no longer in quite the prestigious position that he was before. It's going to be all about Aerox just playing things safe. Even this, in my opinion, is probably too far up.
The one thing I want to mention, though, is that do you remember seeing Arveril going 0-4-0, yet still being able to 1v1 Artorias? He was in such a bad position in that game versus Eminem, yet he could still 1v1 a 9-2 Gangplank. I have a lot of faith in this guy. He is mechanically very sound, but maybe, just maybe, he can replicate that 0-4-0 performance that he's had in the past.
Yeah, potentially, but I think there's room for outplay with the Gangplank. Little room for outplay versus a very fed Renekton. 5-0-2 on this Renekton, and they've gone for the 1-3-1 split push with that Lichbane now. That tells me that they're trying to keep the siege going in the middle lane. They're not going to look for any form of engage, and they're just going to try and push all the waves at once. Split up the composition from Aerox and try and make them decide where they want to put their time.
It's tough to really punish the 1-3-1 as well when you don't have a lot of solid engage on your lineup. Aerox, they're all about the disengagements here, less so about finding the fights. IOU wants to do it here. He actually popped his sadism, went in with the infected cleavers, but Choke just backed out.
So Vedius pointed this out earlier on. Where is the engage from Aerox esports? This 1-3-1, like he pointed out, it basically means that it's untouchable right now for Choke. They can very easily get away with what they're doing because Aerox have no reliable way to punish them for it.
And right now they're looking to set up a siege onto the bottom lane tower. That Lichbane pickup is doing a lot of work, but Milkyard with the misplay. I have no idea what that was. That was I think that was some sour milk right there.
I think he's going to be sour after it, that is for sure. Tundra taking a decent amount of poke from IOU right now. But you can see Choke, they're not deterred. They're still going for this siege, especially with the Emperor's Divide being down. They have a window of opportunity here. IOU probably not even worth giving these love taps to. He is just so tanky at the moment. Choke have been repelled for the time being. But why have they decided to group up here instead of continuing with 1-3-1?
Singular ray of light for Aerox Esports is the reacts. He's doing a lot of damage right now, and if they can continue to keep him untouched in the backline, then that's their singular way to maybe stall this one out. They haven't lost an inhibitor. That's a silver lining right now, Vedius.
Yeah, the thing is they've actually been able to stall things out. Notice that even with the advantage that Choke have, they cannot close out the game, and this comes back to that reliable engage that they are lacking. There's no way for them to actually go, oh, we have a 10,000 gold advantage, you're sitting under your tower, we want to start a fight and take that tower, but we have no way of doing that.
There's a big opportunity here. Coming up to 20 seconds, Baron is going to respawn. Choke already have good vision in the area. They've got that pink, but they need to make sure they check the river bush, because Aerox does have one of their own there.
I'm kind of interested why Choke are opting for the 1-3-1 here. I know it works with the composition that they're running, but they have a composition that wants to teamfight. They've got a huge threat in the form of Renekton, and they've got Lulu to back up and be a useful tool in the teamfight. They can go for tower dives super easily if they get the chance.
The thing is, you're doing it against a Janna and a very strong Tristana.
Yeah.
If you run the risk of going for a tower dive, it's very easy to turn things around, but IOU, I think he's in trouble.
Yeah, he's going to have to pop that Sadism ultimate, but he's flanked on all sides. Mute has his back for the moment with the Monsoon, but now the teleport's coming in. They know that they need to be careful here. Arvo needs to be with his team to defend this push.
Yeah, I totally agree. They definitely can't tower dive against the Janna, but they can look for the engages at the very least with the Tundra hook. And grouping up makes that far easier. If they try and look for a hook when they're in a 1-3-1, that's just going to spell demise for them. So I'm in split minds about whether I like this 1-3-1 because it doesn't look like they're getting anywhere with it.
The thing for me, the best decision that Choke can make right now is, okay, we've tried to do a 1-3-1, it hasn't worked. We've tried grouping up, and it also hasn't worked. Let's try going back to the Baron and not giving it away this time. This is forcing Aerox to come to them.
Exactly.
They realize that they win team fights when they are away from the enemy base because somebody is bound to eat a hook based on past experiences.
And that's
somebody's milk yard.
That somebody is a liquid that we put in our cereal. But no, that's very true. I think.
And as I say that, here they go.
They're actually teleporting Numlocked in right now, so they're going for a bit of a sneaky play.
Milkyard
with Aerox nearby, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Milkyard is miles from the fight. Choke taking this one for free.
I don't think that Aerox are going to do anything about it. Speaking of that, though...
Oh, good hook on a Mute. He baited in, thinking he was going to go for IOU. Immediately, Mute gets taken out, like we've seen several times this game. IOU's in a tough spot as well, taking a lot of damage. Oh, Milkyard dashes right into the death sentence. That is terrible news for Aerox. This could easily be a 5-0 ace. It is going to be Choke Gaming. They've got the potential to end it right here.
And this is exactly what I was talking about. All they needed to do was bait Aerox out of the base and be like, hey guys, come to me, let's fight in the jungle, and that's exactly what happened, and it was a clean ace for Choke Gaming. They're going to take game 1 and equalize the score 1-1.
I have to be completely honest, you're completely right. Any team playing against the Baron will have to come and react to it, and especially since they've been facing a 1-3-1 before. Take the Baron, your 1-3-1 suddenly works. The Baron was the cure to all of Choke's problems.
I have to agree, guys, that was a crazy game for the first one. Choke brought it back to a 1-1, given Aerox's lead coming into this from the winner's bracket. They've got a few more games to play, though. Anything can happen.
Well, coming into the next few games, this is where the medal is going to be tested, because it's no longer a best of 5, it is a best of 3 for both teams. Both of them need 2 more wins to come out ahead, and this concept of experience is going to be very important. Rays of hope for me were Reacts. Even though they were massively behind, he put on a stellar performance. He really was the shining light. Milkyard, though, needs to step up his game.
Milkyard needs to be on a champion that has far more defensive capabilities, in my opinion. Azir is a far too crucial champion to give away and get caught all the time. You're a huge threat in teamfight situations, and you're able to just completely negotiate and control teamfights once you pick up a couple of key items like Riot Eyes and all those kind of things. And I just think Azir, too crucial of a pick to put on Milkyard, who has had a history of getting caught.
The last thing I want to say in relation to the next game, take Chewed Up off Jinx. just stop giving it to him. This is a thing that Excalibur used to say in the Four Nations a year ago. Just ban Jinx against this guy because he is super good at it. He is so familiar with it. He knows how to play it. His positioning is on point. Just take it, ban it. I don't care. Just stop giving it to him.
And funnily enough, the only time we ever saw weaknesses come out of Choke is when people ban Jinx. So go figure.
All right, well, we'll have to see if they take our advice moving into the second game. We're going to pass to a break real fast, but once we're back, it's going to be an awesome series.
The first pick this time. Hey, I think it would be perfectly acceptable to first pick the Jinx. That's going to force Chewed Up onto something that isn't as easy to carry with. The problem with Jinx is that once you have good positioning and once you have good protection, it's so easy to carry with her.
There's definitely other things that Chewed Up plays, though. I mean, when we used to see Jinx get banned against him in some other LAN events, he'd just go Callista. That was his main next stop. You know, hyper carries in general are something that he excels on, and I think there are a few available at his disposal. We are going to be hopping into the pick and ban, though, guys. Tom Kench and Alawi immediately taken out. We were actually just talking before the game. We think Alawi is going to be banned every single game against Aerox. Rarville plays it a lot.
The last time I saw him play it, he single-handedly carried a game against Eminem. Like, Eminem were losing all across the map, then Plex tried to set up a gank top. He was 7-1, by the way. Set up a gank top lane, and he 2v1s them. He's like, yeah, tentacles. They're a thing.
Okay, Andy. But no, I agree because people completely seem to disrespect how much damage she can put out when her ultimate's in duration. She spawns a tentacle for every champion she hits in Leap of Faith. Every tentacle that she spawns and has already on the map becomes invulnerable, and they all attack 50% quicker. And also she gets a 2-second cooldown on her W, means that every time she attacks and uses that ability, her tentacles will slam into the ground too. And if you look how much damage those tentacles do, they scale ridiculously. And if you go full tank, you're almost unkillable too.
Speaking of full tank, Zach is being hovered over right now, and he is one of the tankiest dudes in the game. How do you feel like this works as a first pick? It seems a bit bold to me.
Especially when so many of the junglers are available. Things like the Rek'Sai, Elise is also available, and they are actually going to lock it in. I was talking to Plex earlier, and he considers Zach to be one of the strongest junglers in the current meta, but personally, I'm yet to see it dominate in every single game that is.
And more importantly, you know how much Tundra plays Janna, and you know how good he is at blocking the elastic slingshot with that Howling Gale. I mean, he first picked the Zach, and you completely negate the elastic slingshot with Howling Gale. I
feel like this was maybe an oversight.
This was, no, there is no maybe about this, AJ.
I'm trying to be diplomatic.
This was an oversight. You give Chewed Up Jinx yet again, we harped on about it loads, and you give Tundra the Janna, who is so
such
good.
A combo as well.
Exactly.
I mean, talk about the push coming in. We saw Janna with Tristana last game. Obviously, that is great. But Janna and Jinx work almost just as well together. You know, they've got the minigun to really just burn through towers with the Eye of the Storm Shield.
And the way they played the lane swap, the way they used that Jinx in that scenario was fantastic. They know how to play around Chewed Up on this Jinx. He's been playing it for such a long time, and remember, we have 3 members of the original Choke lineup. They've been playing Jinx for like a year. This is pretty much like, oh, Jinx is open. Okay, I guess we're gonna do it again. It's just pretty much their go-to standard thing.
Oh, whoops, we did it again. No, but essentially, you brought the point up about Tristana being so good with Janna. I'd argue that Jinx is better with Janna, only because you get that super increase in attack speed when you're using Pow, and that favors the Eye of the Storm a little bit further. Tristana's better because she has the explosive shot, and we're just looking at the potential. Vedius is going crazy. He's like, not the Ashe.
I was like, please, no, not Ashe, please. She got, to put it lightly, gutted recently in the patch 5.22 changes. She is so weak right now. I'm glad they've gone away from that. They're clearly just trolling me. But I do want to go back a little bit to this Renekton and Nautilus.
Yep.
Because the Nautilus on support does make it a lot easier to lock down that Jinx. And when you're running a Zac Renekton combo, what they've got so far is actually great at killing Jinx. It is really good. It is a great dive comp. And if even with a Janna, they should be able to lock him down to set him up to take him out of the game very quickly.
I love this composition coming out from Aerox Esports. You're giving something to Milkyard which can be a lot safer in lane. Albeit if they burn his flash, he's pretty screwed. But for the most part, it's pretty safe in lane. It's pretty safe from getting caught as well. You always have the backup of your Shockwave to try and bail you out of a pretty awkward situation. But more importantly, they have got solid engage right here, and multiple forms of solid engage. That is something that Aerox was really lacking, and they couldn't deal with the way that Choke was split pushing them to death last game. And they're going to need it versus the lineup that I'm seeing Choke hover over here.
Yeah, we've got Janna, for example, with the Monsoon available, one of the best tools at dealing with those heavy engage comps. But the thing is, if Aerox staggers the use of their abilities, it's going to be hard to land that big Monsoon that just deals with all of them. Maybe the Nunu, if this does get locked in, could be interesting. Because you throw down the slow field on your backline, and the engagement is neutered a little bit.
The Twisted Fate and Disco Nunu, definitely a throw out to our boy Grossy Gore. Just somewhere out there in the crowd, maybe.
In the crowd. The point I really want to bring attention to is you were talking about engagement and the Orianna in particular. Look at the ball delivery system available on the side of Aerox Esports. If they get that wombo combo off, followed in by the Ezreal ultimate, they have so much damage available. This is more about, okay, last game we wanted to go for fights a lot. Let's this time pick a composition that complements that playstyle and execute it properly this time.
My only issue is Milkyard is going to have to be on point with this shockwaves. Otherwise, they're going to fall off in damage pretty incredibly. Ezreal definitely scales better than he used to with the new AD carry items. It is now viable for Ezreal to go for critical strike just because of the way the Essence Reaver now works. You get that critical strike, it adds to your cooldown reduction, and you no longer need to be gimped by that respect.
And the mana regeneration. Very valuable on an Ezreal, something that you can't, or you had to tunnel quite hard into in the past. So
yeah, you can even forego tier completely at this point in time. You don't even need to go for that Mura mana. Some Ezreals will, but it kind of delays their build path into the Essence Reaver. You go Essence Reaver, Trinity Force, you're max CDR, you've got the attack speed, and you've got a huge amount of crit too. It makes Ezreal far more viable. My only issue is I think the damage is going to be lacking. Again, you're looking at a huge, I guess, scaling comp here from Choke Gaming lineup, but we'll have a look at the comps. I'm going to quickly run through the Choke Gaming lineup, and I think you'll have a look at the Aerox lineup afterwards. Choke have got, again, a Gnar. Gnar does not do as well in the early game as Renekton does, but he's definitely not a late game carry here. He definitely can at least impact mid-game skirmishes and teamfights quite effectively. And then you again have Maxlaw on that Rex side, literally provides that tunnel between the early and mid game towards the late game, can apply a lot of pressure in the in the early game, and then still remain useful in the later stages. And then now you've got DX on something that's just as aggressive as we've seen him on previously. We saw him playing Castin recently. He was a monster on that champion, and that complements the later game portions with the Jinx. And now you're replacing, I think you're basically swapping roles here between DX and Tundra from last game. Now it's Tundra that's going to be that defensive option for the team, and DX has the option to be aggressive. This is a good teamfight composition and really good pick composition. The Siege is okay just because they've got Jinx and Janna, but they've got a good teamfight and good pick here because Casting can pick pretty well just because of the fact that it's all good single target damage. They've not really got any form of hard CC for a singular target, but in general, they've got a good AoE teamfight composition. They'll allow and protect Jinx with the Janna and the Gnar, and they're just going to aim to get chewed up in that same situation where he's firing rockets, carrying the game.
My biggest concern for Choke is their lack of wave clear. They really don't have any reliable wave clear like you have on an Orianna and an Ezreal. It could very well be rough. And the thing is, I actually think that Aerox have stronger laners all throughout. Renekton known for being a lane bully. Zac can set up for those very easy ganks with the slingshot. It has had a buff onto its range. Orianna should straight up beat Alchemist, or should beat a Kassadin, but it's Alchemist. This guy is regarded as one of the best mid laners in the UK, and Milkyard is renowned for getting caught all the time. I don't think, in my professional opinion, that Milkyard can come out ahead in this lane, and I think at the moment, IOU needs to invest more resources into shutting Alchemist down. Reacts can hold his own against Chewed Up. I've seen that. Arvaril knows how to play Renekton, and he can hold his own. I think that all of their resources should be invested into making sure that Milkyard can get relevant, and that he doesn't constantly get caught out of position.
And I'm super behind that right now, literally because Milkyard is the crux of the Aerox composition right now. If he's not hitting good shockwaves, their team fight sucks. It really, really does. And you're going up against a teamfight composition, albeit Aerox teamfight composition does it better than Choke's composition. But if Aerox isn't ahead, they're going to get absolutely dominated.
I find some of the Summoner spell choices interesting here. You know, we've got Milkyard and DX Alchemist picking up Ignites. And I was actually maybe even expecting a teleport out of DX Alchemist, just because they can maybe even 1-3-1 if they decided to go for that, with good disengage in their 3 and nice split pushing from the Kassadin and the Gnar. going for the Ignite when he's already going to struggle in lane is a bold choice.
Remember when I said that Alchemist is the best mid laner in the UK? He doesn't struggle in lane. That's why he's running the Ignite, because he likes to kill stuff. And he is so confident that he doesn't need to run a defensive summoner spell because of how good he is.
So the overall opinion of Alchemist from most people is he is the safest UK mid laner, he never gets caught out in ganks, and he'll always become relevant. So he's pretty confident going into an Orianna matchup with Ignite, and that speaks volumes about how much I think Maxwell is going to pressure this mid lane.
All right, well, we are jumping onto the Rift for this second game, guys. Aerox Esports, Choke Gaming, they are 1-all at the moment. It's all to play for here. Can Choke continue the momentum for the first game, or did Aerox just need a little bit of time to wind up?
So already we're seeing the potentials of a lane swap. I think that this is more to do with Aerox looking for a bit of vision, but they do throw the hook out onto Numlocked.
That was a very good dredge line coming in, Mute with a nice engagement. Numlocked forced to take that hop early on, back on out of that situation. Hasn't burned the flash though, so things could have been worse.
Yeah, definitely could have been worse, but it's not ideal for Numlock to take that flash very early on. Ideally, you'll take your boomerang toss. You won't take the jump until you're level 3. You generally like to get harassed down between level 1 and 2 with the use of boomerang blade and hyper.
And that could be a great opportunity for Arverall to punish. With Numlock going for that hop very early on, it's going to make his wave clear difficult. He's not going to have that poke available when going up against that Renekton, so he needs to be careful during these early levels. Yes, he'll have the range advantage, but this could be the early game that Arverall looks to try and abuse and get ahead in.
So ping's coming down, they know where Maxlor is starting. How is this going to affect the way we see these guys play? It looks like IOU is going to start on the same side of the map. I imagine they'll rotate round, they'll get their buffs, and maybe head towards mid lane for the early ganks. Alchemist with the Ignite is very unusual for a Kassadin going up against an Orianna. We highlighted it before, and it shows that Kassadin is confident in this situation.
See, right there, because I am a mid laner, I know this matchup very well, especially seeing as I used to play regularly against Alchemist, and that's what you should be doing. Every time he considers going for farm, you go, no, and then you hit him in the face. And with Thunderlord's Decree, you have full control of the lane. But Milkyard should be punishing Alchemist every time he even considers going for farm. This is right here what he should be doing.
Yeah, Null Sphere should not even be an option for Alchemist, it should be a defensive option. He needs to be taking those auto attacks over and over, getting that clockwork to wind up. Numlock going aggressive here. He's actually got the healing mastery in the defensive tree there, which could prove useful versus the Renekton.
Yeah, I think it's going to give him a lot of sustain up in this top lane, that especially given that he ended up needing to take hop is going to be valuable. You know, he's not going to be able to try and get any early trades down. Obviously, that wasn't the intent moving into the game, but it is going to help out given the situation he's in. Numlocked with that heal as well, when he's trying to train onto the back line of Aerox Esports, when he jumps in and goes for that Gnar ultimate, he's going to be able to sustain up a little bit more in that situation too, which could also be super useful.
It certainly could, and the things that I want to bring attention to as well is have a look at the positioning of Maxlor. He's realized that top doesn't need help. There's no point trying to gank a Kassadin lane. Bottom lane does have a Janna, but considering the positioning, he realizes that his bottom lane could be at risk of being ganked, so he puts his ward down there. He's saying, okay guys, look, I've warded your tri-bush. You should be safe, be as aggressive as you want.
But the positioning of Milkyard's making him such an easy target. It's a Kassadin lane with Ignite, we have to remember that. Albeit Kassadin kind of sucks. Oh. It's happening in the mid lane right now.
Arvel taking a chunk of damage off Numlock there as well. It looks like we're going to see Milkyard burning his flash to escape from that situation too. So just like you were saying, maybe a little bit of a poor positioning error there coming in from Aerox.
You know, Milk does bring all the boys to the yard, so that's probably why we had Maxwell coming to the mid lane so early. But it could also be to do to his overextension, and he needs to take it careful consideration, because this is why wave management and control is very important, as Tundra does get hooked up.
Yeah, the passive going down onto him as well does mean a decent trade for the side of Aerox. And now that Shoot Up has that shield, immediately they back off. They know they can't win an extended fight.
Orianna without flash is one of the most vulnerable mid laners in the game. This is Vedius' favourite point about that champion.
It's like my catchphrase.
It is like your catchphrase. And now Maxlor can maybe look to exploit that. And we know sometimes Milkyard oversteps his boundaries. He steps into that milk field. It's not quite where he wants to be, and Maxwell should look to exploit that.
Thing is, I feel like I'm bashing on Milkyard a lot, and I don't mean to. Hang on, Hook does land on the Tundra.
Yeah, but I'm not sure they're going to have enough damage. Actually, Zach coming in from the side with IOU. Very nice job there. They want to get Tundra as well. Lots of poke down onto him, but not enough to find the kill. First blood going over to Aerox.
That's the way you play Zach. You come from the positions that no one's expecting. That elastic slingshot is one of the most useful long-range engage tools in the game, but only useful when you can't see it coming.
And I was talking about how you should put effort into helping Milkyard through. The alternative strategy is, you know, React has that carry potential, so put him into a spot where he can run away with the game and carry. Yes, he doesn't get first blood, but the experience and gold advantage that he's going to gain from this is going to be absolutely massive.
Yeah, and this is huge for Chewed Up. He missed a siege minion and at least 10 to 12 regular minions too. That's massive for him.
It really is, and one thing I want to highlight here, React, he was the ray of hope last game, right? He was the one who hadn't died up until something like 25 minutes. Moving forwards in this game, he's on a much earlier scaling champion, someone who spikes when they get that Trinity Force, for example. Maybe even if he decides to pick up an early Essence Reaver, he'd still be in a good spot. So finding that person on Aerox who's going to be able to do okay in the earlier stages of the game, and giving him someone who actually works with that plan might work out nicely here.
You talked about the Trinity Force on Ezreal, and I'm actually quite interested into what he decides to itemize towards, because I think Trinity Force would still be a pretty good item on him, but if you do go for that, it means that his itemization is going to be very, very expensive. We do see the BF sword come out, which does suggest that the Essence Reaver will be the itemization. The question is, what will he go for next? Because personally, I don't think a rapid-fire cannon would be the best thing.
No. You need to take the Sheen on Ezreal. It synergizes so well with your kit, so you either go into something like a Frozen Gauntlet, which I don't think would be as efficient without the Mura mana, or you go towards the Trinity Force. I think it has to be the Trinity Force here.
It's going to be a very expensive build, though, and it will take a long time for him to get to that point, but Numlock in the top lane.
Yeah, he's actually turning this one around onto Arvil, who's already tried to go for that engagement. The stun, the wallop lands, and now he's actually going to go in for the ultimate too. Arvil, he does heal up a decent chunk with that Kolamik, though, and he's going to be able to get out of there safely.
That may have looked like Numlock wanted to go for the fight, but he absolutely knew that he was going to lose the trade from there on out, so he just backed out, used the ultimate defensively, and forced the ultimate from Renekton too. I want to pick up on the Trinity Force point as well. I think he's going to need to go for a late game guild here. He's going to need to go something that makes him more viable in the late game against the Jinx.
Maxlor's sitting on a ward right now, so it's going to be tough for him to make something happen down here. You see Chewed Up just trying desperately to clear out the minions at the moment.
Maxlor, who is such an aggressive early jungler, is having such a tough time doing anything more than...
Oh, Thunderlord's free, baby. That's going to be a big pickup for Avril.
Avril, I told you this guy has the carry potential, and with the early game playing Renekton, Numlock didn't respect that. This guy's like such a massive Renekton main. How could you not respect that damage?
Numlock plays Renekton, he knows what he's capable of, and he stands well within slice and dice range.
Look at IOU, he's looking for a potential dive. They don't have vision of this.
This is the Elastic Slingshot winding up right now. He's actually going to cancel it. Obviously, the cooldown is not going to be as long. Given that he's done that, he's got plenty of time here. Reacts mute, pushing in slowly. The True Fire Barrage goes out. Here's the jump. It actually does not intercept with the Howling Gale. Oh. That is a beautiful Mystic shot. Tundra goes down as well. Double kill to Reacts, and a very solid early game out of Aerox.
Aerox Esports, IOU, you are definitely in the right lane right now. Reacts is the one that you need to carry with, and you are giving him all of the tools to do so. Milkyard right now has had absolutely no trouble, and yes, Alchemist is not getting punished, but it doesn't matter when your AD carry is going off the hook.
He certainly is. I'm so impressed with how Aerox have changed up their playstyle. And you talked about it, or we saw in the trailer video at the start, that there wasn't quite that same level of respect from Choke coming into their first best of 3 series earlier on in the tournament. That level of respect seems to have dropped off because they are not respecting these plays.
Oh, Milkyard! Nice flash shockwave coming out, but they don't stagger the crowd control. DX Alchemist has that Rift Walk, gonna back into the river, and bait from Maxlor. They turn it around, they find one kill. Mute's in a tough spot right now. The block comes in against the dredge line. He's got a flash on out of there. Tundra, he's falling in with a Zephyr as well. Does DX Alchemist have the damage? Tundra actually being turned on right now. They know that Arvil is coming down. Numlock is going to meet him. He's going Meganar very soon, but can't find it. Now now Tundra engaged onto on the back line. IOU wants this one. That's going to be Reacts getting the kill. True Fire Barrage goes out. He's trying to kite away, but is it going to be enough? DX Alchemist gets one, a big knock-up onto 3, but Aerox Esports, they are existing in this fight just barely. DX, he gets a triple kill. Aerox Esports, they go down. What a massive fight for Choke. Quadra kill right there for Alchemist.
DX Alchemist in and out of that fight continuously. I have absolutely no idea what happened there. It looked like it was completely in favor of Aerox.
Well, let me try and break it down for you, because that whole thing started with Milkyard jumping in with the flash shockwave. And yeah, it looked flashy, but they got absolutely nothing from it. There was no need for them to do that. Sure, you caught Alchemist out of position, but it just wasn't necessary. There was no need to do that. And now Milkyard could be in trouble again. He doesn't have his flash.
That Milkyard, it was a misplay. He sombreroed, realized he sombreroed, and then went for the flash to make it happen. Obviously, he was trying to go for the command attack there to get it was right next to the bloody guy. He could have used the shockwave, 5 meters in front of him, but he realized he sombreroed and had to flash to make it work.
But the biggest thing in that engagement was that Numlock transitioned down so much faster than Arveril did. There was no way for Aerox to actually turn that around, simply due to the number differential that was between the two teams in that engagement. Fortunately, Aerox still holds the gold lead. They're equal in towers, they have the kill lead, so they're still doing very well in farm. So even after that quadra kill on top of Alchemist, I want to say that things aren't looking that bad, but a Rod of Ages at 10 minutes in, that's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
So, Alchemist, we were talking about how good of a mid laner he is. He's showing it right here, going for a gank in the top lane on a Mute right now as well. There's a Jinx here too. This could be a bad spot, and it will be a bad spot for Mute. Alchemist, he is such an expert at turning kills into gold.
Saving grace right now is Reacts is still doing incredibly well. 3-1-2. It's going to pick up that Essence Reaver pretty quickly. A nice donation of the kill to Chewdub is going to start to even things up between the two AD carries. But Alchemist, that last fight, he was in and out, able to dodge a good portion of the damage and picked up that quadra kill, giving him a 10-minute Rod of Ages. That is an incredibly early Rod of Ages, especially on 5.23, 5.24. That's a great item spec to pick up someone early on into the game.
I still don't want to discount Arveril yet, though, because he's still in a great position. Tundra's taking a lot of damage.
He's going to monster him right back into Chewdub, though. The ultimate comes out, but it's not going to be enough. Now we have a teleport, making Numlock get up to this top lane, find IOU potentially. He's got some good damage, but is it going to be enough? He's hyper right now, jumping forward, misses the boomerang toss, but he's going to have it again real soon. IOU in a bad spot. The rocket comes through. Now DX Alchemist, he's grouped with his team. Choke Gaming, what a shockwave from Milkyard, but is only delaying the inevitable. That's going to be a shutdown.
Or is it?
Milkyard, he's actually turning this one around. The command attack finds a kill onto Max Lore. Beautiful turnaround there from Aerox Esports.
All about the shockwave right there. All around the shockwave right there from Milkyard. Absolutely fantastic. Not only did it delay the follow-up from the guys from Choke Gaming, it managed to pick him up a kill too. Beautiful shockwave. Completely kept his team in that team fight right there.
And they're still 8 for 8. Yes, they ended up losing 2 members in that engagement, and that was simply because of a fantastic heal that came out from Shootout. Baiting Reacts to force in that engagement, sticking just a little bit too long. Numlock was able to use his teleport, and once again, Choke had the numbers advantage. The biggest difference between these two teams that I am noticing is the way in which Choke responds to situations. They're always like, guys, this is happening, entire team suddenly collapses, and they do it so much faster than Aerox that they're slowly losing control of this game.
My only worry right now is Aerox need to group to make their composition viable. They don't have a split push composition here. They really need the 5v5. That's exactly what they picked for. Choke can split so easily with Alchemist on the Castin and Numlock on the Gnar. A 1-3-1 could be coming out later in the stage of the game, and they could be forcing Aerox to be proactive. When Aerox have been proactive, Alchemist has cleaned up, and it's not looked good for them so far.
Yeah, I mean, just taking stock of the game, there's only 300 gold in this right now. Aerox just barely in the lead. Choke actually have a tower lead as well. Tundra caught out in the river, though. That's going to be a flash dredge line coming in from Mute, and Tundra has no chance of getting out of there. quick pickup for Aerox, and that's the vision control showing up in a big way.
That was a mispositioning play from Tundra. He was trying to clear out those wards, and he should have respected the fact that IOU has been setting up those ganks from out of vision pretty much all the time. Now they're going to equalize the towers, they're going to extend their goal lead even further.
And this is all because of the vision control that they've managed to claim around the Riven area right now. They've got huge amounts of pink wards, huge amounts of stealth wards, and they can light up that entire portion of the map, and it's working no end for them.
IOU, he's going to use that elastic slingshot, but this is not a fight they want to pick.
Oh,
what a nice shockwave. That's the Ezreal ultimate too. DX Alchemist, he's so low, he gets out just barely. Chewed Up, he's continuing to chase in, finds reacts. IOU, he's trying desperately to stay alive, but he is going to be popped into several cells and taken down real quick.
The biggest problem right there for Choke, or well, the biggest problem for Aerox, sorry, was that they were fighting under a tower. That was a great shockwave, followed by the great let's bounce from IOU, but because they were constantly taking damage from the turret, there was no way that they were going to come out in that engagement.
Yeah, but also the shockwave was used defensively. If they managed to put it on top of IOU and he'd landed the elastic slingshot to begin with, it could have been a fight that they would have won easily. But unfortunately, Milkyard had to use the shockwave defensively, and he got taken out so early on in that fight.
And that just comes back to Milkyard's positioning. He needs to be aware of what can sit on top of him in these engagements. You're playing against a Kassadin, you're playing against a Rek'Sai. It is so easy to get onto the back line, and you should be playing around.
Nova, he was stood next to the Razorbeak wall. I'm sorry, but these guys can go over walls. You know they can go over walls. How many times have you been in the mid lane and a Rek'Sai has appeared from behind you over the Razorbeak wall? You just didn't respect the mobility that the guys from Choke have.
DX Alchemist doing the same thing this game that he did last time around, working towards that Lich Bane. And we talked about the potential for a 1-3-1 here out of Choke. They might be going for it again.
That just tells me that he is looking for the split.
Yes.
That is straight up, I want to duel. Rod of Ages has had a buff. The Lich Bane complements it very well. It just makes it easier to win those 1-versus-1 fights.
And not only that, it will allow him to assassinate Ezreal far easier if it comes to a teamfight situation.
You can see Aerox here with a good rotation into the middle lane, though. They've actually just managed to keep the gold even off the back of this, but DX Alchemist is hovering around looking for a flank. He finds Milkyard. That is a bad position, but he flashes onto Chewed Up, gets a shockwave. It's not going to be enough to begin with. Tundra, a good monsoon, keeps the back line alive, but now it's DX Alchemist 1-versus-3. He's actually using his Rift Walk for damage, even though everyone is on top of him. He finds a lot of damage, forces IOU right out of the fight, and now Arville, too late to the party, is going to struggle to make it happen here. DX Alchemist, he's not got mana, but it doesn't matter at this point.
Two things right here that may look flashy, the flash shockwave, and it did get Chewed Up into a great position, but it's completely useless if you're throwing yourself as Orianna right into the midst of the enemy team, especially when you're a huge portion of the damage in teamfights. And also, I want to highlight how good DX Alchemist is at repositioning in teamfights over and over, negating any form of CC coming his way.
The biggest issue I had with that teamfight was, as you said, throwing yourself onto Chewed Up means that he got the passive activated, and that meant that Arville had to invest so many resources just to kill Chewed Up all the way on the back line. He was taken completely out of the fight, and he could have been so much more useful as IOU and Newt were just sitting on top of Alchemist. That was just a big misplay once again from Milkyard. I hate bashing on the guy because obviously playing on the stage can be a bit nerve-wracking. You've made it to the final of Insomnia 56, but he is letting his team down right now.
He's cosplaying as IOU and Arville right now because he is going in and jumping onto Chewed Up. If you jump onto Chewed Up as an Orianna and go melee range, you better blink and well kill him.
That is a very good point. I feel like he's doing that thing a kid does when they first learn to maybe, you know, walk somewhere. They're just trying to show off, and flashing in with those shockwaves again and again isn't panning out for him. He's falling over.
It certainly is not working out for him. And look at Alchemist right now. 8-1-6. Lich Bane, Rod of Ages completed. He is known as one of, if not the best, UK mid laner for a reason. If you give him Kassadin and give him a slight lead, he will run away with it. And it's just the simple fact of the matter that Aerox at the start of this game looked fantastic. They got their bottom lane really far ahead. Arville was doing insanely well, but then Alchemist getting that quadra kill, it has just been fight after fight going in the favor of Choke.
Okay, so we see a frozen mallet on the Gnar right now. That is telling me Choke is definitely looking for the split push. 1-3-1 or 1-4.
Chewed Up's in a bit of a far up position right now. You see Aerox trying to rotate up there, stop this push. Meanwhile, Numlock's in the bottom side of the map, though. There's also great vision control from Choke. You know, it's hard to catch someone out in this position. Choke is responding by rotating 4 members down to this bottom lane, and React is not in a good position right now. There's a ton of bursts that can be put down. He is obliterated immediately, and Choke should be able to find this tower.
That was actually just a really nice rotation that came out from Choke. They knew the React was out of position. There was no way he could get out of that. His flash was down, and that was just a very nice collapse into a tier 2 tower.
Ezreal is hyper-mobile, but Kasten is more mobile. He can definitely chase down an Ezreal who uses that arcane shift.
And the other thing I really want to bring attention to is we talked about Essence Reaver into Trinity Force. Look at the 280 carries right now. Such an expensive build path means that you're going to take such a long time to hit that power spike. Chewed Up has already done it, and now he's running away with the game.
IOU caught out here as well. The shockwave comes through onto DX Alchemist, but he is the only one. Numlock gets a good Gnar ultimate onto him, and you can see on the back line, this is just a terrible fight for Aerox to take. That is a nice ultimate coming in from Ezreal, but it only lands onto the front line. Arvil, he's not tanky enough. Numlock is continuing to chase in here. That is 4 kills, 3 rather, coming in, about to be 4 once these cell divisions get picked up. And Chewed Up might be looking for a triple kill here. This is a bad spot for Reacts to be in. Lots of damage onto him. Maxlor, they're diving so hard for this one, ignoring the tower they could take. But I think they're still going to find it.
The one thing you need to look at there, Chewed Up looked out of position, Numlock saved him with the Monsoon, but the repositioning from Chewed Up was absolutely ridiculous. Kept himself well and alive and healthy. It was so good from a guy who's so good on Jinx. This is why you don't give the guy this champion.
Alright, so we're 20 minutes into the game right now, and from a position where Aerox had the lead in the early game, they are now almost 10,000 gold down. Choke has been incrementally and slowly taking advantages from every single rotation, every single fight. Aerox, you're on the back foot. What can they do to come back into this?
There's very little that they can do. It comes back to what I was talking about in terms of these item power spikes. They are very strong in the mid game. If Orianna had gone for, I think the itemization is fine, but you have to get a very early death cap. Going for that support item from the Rod of Aegis, I just don't really like on an Orianna. The Trinity Force is taking way too long to get. Arvril is the only one that was really dealing damage, but because no one else was, there was no way for them to come out ahead. They've missed their opportunity to take advantage of their power spike, and now they're just straight up getting outscaled. They need to consider what they can do in game 2.
My issue with Aerox, My issue with Aerox right now is they are scrapping, and they like to scrap, but they choose all the wrong scraps. It's a real issue for them that they have a teamfight composition, that they work well and they dictate the pace of the teamfight. A lot of the teamfights in the early portions were all very reactive from Aerox esports.
Arvil, I want to touch on him again because you mentioned his damage. It is insane right now, but the problem is it's all this upfront burst that can't really be followed up by the remaining members of Aerox. You know, they just don't have the follow-up that they need to kill Choke members.
And the lack of ball delivery system that we've actually seen this game is a little bit disappointing. We were so excited to see these massive teamfight comps, and Excoundrel mentioned it at the very start of the game. He needs to land those shockwaves, which he just has not been doing, as Numlocked and Arvril go for that 1v1.
Numlocked is actually unable to turn Mega Gnar right now. That's going to be a big ultimate coming through from React, but not quite in time to finish off the Baron. And Arvil, I just don't think he should be chasing into a Numlocked right now. He has Frozen Mallet. He can just kite forever.
Exactly.
Why did he flash?
I don't know, man. I mean,
the engagement isn't quite over yet, though.
Oh, he dodges it! He also manages to get out of the elastic slingshot. Things are falling apart for Aerox right now. They just don't have the communication. They're not coordinating their engagements. That's another double kill for DX Alchemist. Maxlor surviving in that 1v1 on the side. Triple kill, and Ace comes in. That's going to be game for Choke Gaming, and now they're only 1 away from taking this finals.
This whole last 5 minutes smelt of desperation for Aerox esports. They tried really, really hard to make their competition work. It was very safe, very classic, but unfortunately, they were picking all the wrong fights. When you have a team that relies on choosing the engagers, you cannot act reactive. You have to be proactive. You need to be the one that decides when you're going to engage, so you can position that very crucial Orianna ball in those right positions.
The biggest thing for me was Aerox actually had the lead. They were at a point where they were 4-0 during the early game. They got so many good ganks onto Chewed Up and Tundra. They were doing a phenomenal job in the bottom lane. Their AD carry was really far ahead. Arvro was really far ahead in the top lane. All they had to do now was keep the pressure up, but use the goal difference that they had developed and just hold it. hold that goal difference, they're going to naturally hit the power spike sooner, and they abuse that. They run away with it. And if they had done that, they could have beaten Choke. But they went for too many early fights, they did not play around their power spikes appropriately, and Choke took advantage. They abused the mispositioning. DX Alchemist got a quadra kill, and there was nothing that they could do.
My complete issue, and I really hate to bring it up, these flash ultimates from Milkyard, they just weren't necessary. And it's A, it's wasting your shockwave, and B, it's wasting your flash on Oriana, who is one of the easiest champions to exploit when you don't have flash. I was not happy. It looked flashy, but it was useless. It was just awful.
I'd kind of like Milkyard to maybe pick an Ari, something that can just escape things, you know, a lot. Just he's always in the wrong position, and if he's not in the wrong position, he puts himself in the wrong position.
The thing is, I just feel as though they need to pick champions that have earlier power spikes if they want to fight. They need to learn how to play around single item power spikes. Things like Ari would be a good example. You could go for, I mean, the Lucian. Lucian would be a great. Oh wait, Lucian is regularly banned, isn't it? So Lucian, but like
Ezreal was fine. Ezreal was fine in my opinion. He did really well, got ahead, and he was the person you needed to center your team composition around. I think that the problem with the composition is you're centering it around Milkyard. Once again, you need to take the pressure off Milkyard. You need to make sure that, I don't want to say it like this, you need to make sure he isn't as important as some of the other laners. So put
Lulu.
Yeah.
I was about to say the same thing.
Something like that. Anyway, I think you put all the pressure down onto the bot lane and all the pressure onto the top lane. You just leave mid lane. Just don't touch it. Don't go there as a jungler. Just let him survive. Say, don't leave your turret if you're scared, and just focus that bot lane, because Aerox was the only person, in my opinion, that had the potential to carry this game into the later portions. And to be honest, I'm going to say it again, ban Jinx.
I got to agree with you once again, guys. We are going to be taking a quick break before we come back with the third game of this series. Aerox are in a really tough spot. They had the one-game lead from the winner's bracket. Now they are facing elimination. Can Choke close it out, or will Aerox manage to get a reverse sweep? Do not go anywhere. We're about to find out. Joining me is Scoundrel and Vedius once more, and this could be the final game. Choke, they were one game down as a result of coming through the losers bracket, but they have won the last two in commanding fashion. Can they take the third?
And like a milkshake, they're going to have to shake things up here, and especially in that mid lane with respect to Milkyard. He has got a lot of work to do to bring himself back into a viable position on this team. He's looking like the weak link, and the chain cutters are Choke.
So far we've made 4 milkshake puns. How many can we make of milk of his name throughout the rest of the series? This could potentially be the final game. Choke currently sitting at 2-1. They have looked insanely dominant, but there were rays of hope at the beginning of the game for Aerox Esports.
You could almost say we're milking the pun.
Jackson, you delivered that just like we scripted it.
Yeah. So we are going to be jumping into game fairly soon for what could potentially be the last game of this series. We're having a lot of fun on the caster desk. We hope you guys are having a lot of fun at home.
That guy is.
You absolutely killed me with that one. All right, let's get into champions. Let's get serious faces back on.
Gonna be honest, I stole it from Freak.
All right, so Choke Gaming banning out the Alawi and the Lucian again makes a lot of sense. Arville has been playing that Alawi a lot. React has been going with the Lucian. We're seeing Lulu and Lee Sin banned on the other side. I can get behind those. I think Maxwell is a great Lee Sin player, and Lulu is just really good right now.
Well, Choke haven't had to change their bans up at all throughout this series. They, well, as I say that, they're actually going to ban the Zac. They felt like IOU did a great job. And for those that don't know, IOU, formerly known as Propar Panda.
Yeah,
Propar Panda.
Propar Panda.
And he used to play for Best UK team Kappa. And
yes.
A year ago, they were actually the winners of Insomnia.
Yes, and actually, we talked about a lot of AE not being that well known. Propar Panda is pretty well known in the UK scene. He's a fairly high level jungler. He's master tier at the moment. And he's always been very good on Lee Sin, but he feels like banning it out against Maxlaw, because Maxlaw is super proficient on that champion.
Tom Kench not sitting on the bench this time.
Oh, wow.
Unlike every other game we've cast
he has
the
been
entire of the tournament.
He has been unclogged. He has been uninhibited.
Yeah.
And the thing is, for Tundra, that is a pretty strong champion. He used to practice it a lot, very comfortable on it, and it's going to be going up against Janna, so Mute's going to be moving to that. From what we saw in his first game of this series, wasn't the best performance. We saw a bit of flashy plays trying to come out from him that didn't quite work in his favor, and I feel like that's pretty much the story of Aerox throughout this series.
I was about to say, Aerox Esports and their Flash Ultimates. You know, it's always the way that they roll, and I don't think it's working out too well for them so far. We are seeing an Elise picked up for IOU here, Propaganda, as you said. How do you feel like that's going to fit into this?
Elise classically fits into one type of composition and one type of composition only, and that is the pick composition. But going for the Janna kind of throws a spanner in the works for me. They're going to have something else that can follow up on that Cocoon, because Elise otherwise doesn't really offer much else. She's got really good early jungle pressure. She can 1v1 most other junglers quite effectively. But later we go, she becomes less and less useful, and it's going to be more of a pick-orientated composition, I think, coming through from Aerox Esports.
Well, there's the potential engage coming out from Aerox Esports with that Callista if they do decide to go on to that. But moving back on to what Shoke have actually logged in, nice to see that they're changing up their composition, going for a very rare Rek'Sai and Jinx, something that we haven't seen in this series.
I've not seen Shoot Up on Jinx in such a long time, man.
It's almost like he's played it in every game for the last year.
And it's almost like he's practically won every game that he's had. I don't know, this seems to be a trend here, Vedius.
I think I see a trend coming.
If I was to look at this in an analysis point of view, I probably would have banned it.
I might have considered it. This could very well be a worrying trend for Aerox, though, if they haven't noticed it.
I just don't get it. Like, you guys can be sarcastic as you want. This is just not a smart decision, you know? It has not worked yet. I feel like Aerox, their pick and ban phase is struggling.
Okay, they've had two different compositions so far, aimed at two different things. It looks like they've got another different type of composition coming through. One of them might hit the nail on the head, because so far they've been hitting the wood.
Third time's the charm. This is the, you know, the third game.
Hey, Max Law said to me in one of the breaks, I've missed 2 smites. Third smite's the charm on the Baron. Maybe it's third composition the charm.
Could
like
very well be. This could be the opportunity that Maxwell finally lands a smite. Maybe, you know, we do hope that he can regain his smiting abilities, but nevertheless, they do currently lead the series, so even if he misses a smite or two, it might not be that bad. Notice now that React's actually going back to this Tristana. We saw it in Game 1. Very dominant on that champion. Going to be paired once again with the Janna, but I see no engage once again from Aerox Esports.
There's only the Cocoon, and that's not exactly a reliable form of engage.
Yeah.
It's there for a pick. I think this mid lane is going to be a super important pick again.
Hey. Don't do it. Anyway, looking at Choke Gaming, this is the exact composition that they ran last game, barring the Tahm Kench, which, to be honest, I think is better than what they had before. You know, it's so good with a Jinx. It really does just allow you to peel uncontested in many, many fights.
Lock in the Zed, do it.
I think Zed would be a risky pick. Sure, it's decent into Kassadin, but all Alchemist is going to do is change his Rod of Ages Lichbane build into a Rod of Ages Zhonya's build. And
again, you're putting a huge pile of pressure onto Milkyard. He is going to become the only real person that can deal with Chewed Up on this Jinx once again, and that's something that he's been struggling to perform during this series.
But the difference is, I was just about to say he could be that split push threat, which we haven't seen him do yet. Maybe just putting him on a side lane and saying, go farm over there.
It's going to be Rise. Wow. That is pick composition 101 right here. You Cocoon into Rune Prison, into Ruthless Predator. Doesn't really offer much else. The siege is moderate.
Damage is pretty good.
Damage is pretty good, but that is part of the pick. They need to make picks. They need to up their vision control, because otherwise they're going to really struggle once again against Choke Gaming, going for exactly the same composition they've run for 5 games in a row. And it's worked every time.
And it's a composition that lends itself well to dealing with poke. I mean, Tahm Kench is pretty much the king of that. You just eat whoever gets cocooned and book it on out of there. Similarly, Kassadin, he's going to be able to Rift Walk away. Numlock's got the hops.
It's got really good at dealing with pick. The person gets picked, as long as Tundra is there, they will always be safe. And Chewed Up has got such superior positioning to practically every other AD carry right now. I really struggle to see how Aerox Esports are going to move forward from here. Though, Milkyard is practically on a point-and-click champion, so, you know,
ever seen the video by Febiven on how to rise?
I saw it the other day. But remind our viewers.
Because once you hit 4 stacks, he becomes machine gun mode. And if you do not respect that, which I imagine Alchemist would, being a very
100%.
player, but if he doesn't, even for a slight second, the moment we see machine gun mode, that could be the opportunity for Milkyard to turn things around.
It could, and speaking of Aerox as a whole, one thing that I do want to point out, last game they had a great early game. They were 4-0 up. With this kind of a pick composition, with an Elise who's great at diving towers early, finding those kills, maybe they can snowball it a little bit better than last time. You know, we do need a little bit of, a duration of the game to go on for Choke Gaming to really hit critical mass. So Aerox has a window here.
And I like that with this pick style comp that you guys have been talking about, it actually sets up Milkyard quite nice for the mid lane ganks. You can put a lot more pressure down onto Alchemist now, land the Rune Prison, follow it up with the Cocoon. It's pretty much guaranteed damage that you can easily set up onto punishing a pre-6 Kassadin.
And even if you're on tilt, you can't screw this up. Rune Prison is a point-and-click ability. You can just combo with that Cocoon, and then you can just follow.
Don't test him.
I have jinxed it now.
Rune Prison minions, dude.
Oh man,
it happens.
It happened. But also, you take away from that fact, they've actually got a moderately decent dive composition as well. Renekton kind of fills that out, and the siege is pretty good as well. Tristana, Janna, we've talked no end about it during this best of 5 series, or rather best of 3 as it seems to have become. But you have the Renekton there as your front line, and you can follow it up with a huge host of pick and damage in the form of Renekton. You're just looking at me really creepily.
It's a long day.
You can follow it up with the Rise and with the Elise, and then Tristana's always so valuable in the backline there. But pick foremost from Aerox Esports, they need to up their vision control, because right now Choke is dominating them on that front.
So, looking a little bit more into Choke's composition as a whole, the thing that I find quite interesting is what's been different about this game from other games is I actually feel Chewed Up is going to be even harder to kill now.
Yeah.
The Tahm Kench, we've already said Tundra is very familiar on the champion. He has moved from the top lane to the support role, and since then he's been getting better and better and better. And now he's reached a point where his Tahm Kench pretty much deserves a ban almost every game. And you're pairing it up with Chewed Up and his go-to champion. It is going to be so difficult to catch. You're also playing against a Kassadin. That biggest issue that Chewed Up had in the last game, where all that dive threat could just dive on top of you and shut you down, Tahm Kench is going to be like, nope, and just gobble you up and take you to safety.
How do you guys think the lanes are going to pan out here? We've seen earlier on the lane swap with the Renekton and the Janna Tristana.
I think we'll see a lane swap again.
Yeah?
To be honest.
Wait, but from who?
I think instigated by Aerox Esports. They've got a better tower siege here in the form of Janna and
I like the Elise in the lane swap too.
Elise is really good in dives early on. So I imagine,
very true.
I imagine if anyone is going to instigate a lane swap, it's likely to be Aerox. But I've been proven wrong before. Choke could very well just want to avoid.
My only argument against that would be Aerox so far, to me, have proven to be, particularly in the top and AD carry role, the stronger laners.
Yes.
Avril, when he is left to 1v1, has been out-trading Numlocked. It is largely due to the matchup, Renekton being a bully, utilizing that power spike, but also Reacts has just been playing out of his mind.
I kind of feel like that was a misplay from Numlocked, though you should, like, we were talking about it previously, when he solo killed him near a turret, you should really understand Renekton to its capabilities when you play it that much. I think Numlocked just had a lag of the brain.
All right, guys, we're going to be getting into this third game of the evening between Aerox Esports and Choke Gaming. If Choke can take it away, they will be your champions, taking home the lion's share of the prize money. Aerox, they're fighting for their tournament lives. This is going to be a very important game for them.
Aggressive movement, out of 5 from Aerox Esports, maybe looking to get T-Pods down, but they know Tundra is already there, and actually it's a very defensive spread here from the guys from Choke. So they aren't going to be able to spy out any lane swaps. It looks like it's going to be standard, but I imagine Reacts and Mute heading towards that bot lane.
Yeah, so potentially Aerox going for their
standard lanes.
Standard lanes, it could very well be. But this just comes back to what I was saying there. The AD carry and top laner probably feel pretty comfortable in the 1 versus 1. Numlocked might not be playing as much League of Legends as he used to for whatever reason, and maybe that could be why Avril has ended up coming out ahead in these 1v1s.
I think Numlocked should have a better performance this game.
Hopefully.
I think having played so much Renekton, it may take you just a little bit of a game to slip into your full Gnar mode.
In fairness to the guy, he has been playing well.
Yeah, yes.
It just, in terms of the laning phase, Avril has been showing quite a lot of dominance in terms of the 1v1.
But Chewed Up, I'm not surprised Chewed Up and Tundra have been struggling in the 2 versus 2 because Jinx as a carry specifically is very strong at level 1 and then drops off and then comes back a little bit later on.
Yeah, the biggest thing for Jinx is she purely relies on her auto attacks to do the damage, whereas someone like a Tristana doesn't. She has the explosive shot, she has the rocket jump. There's
Wait, what is going on here? Okay, we have a mid lane swap. It is throwback season 3.
Wow. Wow. Okay, I was not expecting this. So let's try and break this down. They want to try and shut down the Castlin as much as possible, and they realize that a lot of pressure has been put down onto Milkyard, so they want to move into somewhat of a safer lane. But I don't know if that is necessarily the safer lane.
It's not the safer lane. A shorter lane is far easier to gank now for Maxwell too, and rotations can come from both sides. You're exposing yourself to having to ward far more area, and it's going to make it way more difficult now for Aerox Esports to keep their sole reliable carry in a good position.
But for Milkyard, he is in the safer lane.
Yes, arguably, Milkyard, not much can go wrong, but Maxwell looking to exploit it already.
Is this the best way to put Milkyard in a better position, though? That's my question about it. We are seeing Maxwell come down.
No, it's not.
Again, I like to be diplomatic as much as possible, but sometimes
they
make it hard.
They don't want Milkyard to go 1 versus 1 versus Alchemist. That's basically what they've said.
Yeah, and to be honest, they recognize him as a threat, but IOU is being dived on.
Yeah, he's actually trying to come and help out Milkyard right now, but he gets caught up. Thick skin, just like that Elise Repel, is great at diving the turrets, but the damage out of Milkyard already is pretty significant.
It's not even that, it was just a turret and the combo of CC that was thrown down onto Tundra. They didn't manage to get the dive off. That's really good for Milkyard, because that could have gone horribly for both IOU and Milkyard there.
The thing that confuses me the most is that during the early game, oh, hang on, Numlocks.
Arvil does so much damage early on with that Renekton pick. We're seeing Relax actually do a nice job in the middle lane, pushing out Alphys too right now. So Aerox, they got a few things going for him.
But yeah, coming back to my point, the thing is with Ryze, he's also a late scaling carry mid lane.
Yeah. And you're starving at farm.
Putting that up against a Ryze means that you get as much free farm as you want, especially up to level 6. And even at level 6, if a Kassadin dives on your face, you're Ryze. Have you not heard of machine gun mode Ryze? Like, he can very easily win that 1 versus 1. In terms of the matchup, he should be fine.
Exactly.
And if anything, you've already seen the dive come out. He just gets zoned away from farm.
I feel like no one's listening to us about how good Chewed Up is on Jinx. And just to reiterate, Chewed Up is bloody good on Jinx. Just so you know. And I imagine he's been doing a good portion of the damage every single game.
It's because he keeps getting full up on milk.
That was stretched. I mean, doing a good job until that point.
This is the barrel. You've taken the bottom off the barrel, and now your hand is all the way through.
Hey, I don't like 2 versus 1.
Normally it's just me giving.
Yeah, normally it's just you. But coming back into the top lane, have a look at Arvaril. As you said, Numlocks really stepping up his performance this time, actually able to come out ahead, but still a little bit behind in terms of farm.
Yeah, he is struggling a little bit here. Numlock is putting a lot of pressure down onto him. With a full rage bar, Arvil has the opportunity to go in and put down a lot of damage. He can also lifesteal a huge amount with a full minion wave there using Cold Meek. So opportunities abound for the side of Aerox Gaming if they can just find the right moment. Mute hovering around the mid lane right now, just providing support from afar and giving Reacts a lot of solo experience.
The one thing I do kind of like about this mid lane swap is it's shutting down Alchemist, who was such a huge force in that Castlin in the last game. Again, I think it's disrespecting Chewed Up.
The dive is coming mid.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, they do want to go for this one. IOU making his way through. Arvil, though, actually going to go for a fight in the top lane as well. Finds that first blood one-on-one.
Why?
Numlock got wrecked immediately.
Why is Numlock doing this? He should know exactly what Renekton is capable of, and I have absolutely zero idea why he's going in and getting locked up by the Ruthless Predator. As in Gnar, you should keep yourself far enough away so that the Slice and Dice can't reach you, but it's just not happening.
I think that this is again proving my point that Arvaril, pretty talented laner up in that top lane.
Definitely. And look at the CS difference between the two of them. This is the 1 versus 1 laner.
Oh, Maxlore getting dived onto. There's the repel. Reacts finds the kill. Chewed Up. He's getting engaged upon, but Tundra is waiting in the wings, stealthily in that bush. Gonna get the tongue lash down. Flash comes out. Chewed Up does not have a zap available to close that gap, though. And it's gonna be Milkyard getting away.
I haven't seen the frog in a while. I wonder where he went. Oh, he's in the brush. That's the oldest trick in the book, Vedius.
It was such a greedy play. There was absolutely no need for him to go aggressively onto Tudor. He's like, I'm playing Ryze, I can probably get a kill, but you don't need to. You're playing Ryze. It's just farm up, get the experience. experience that you need, get the gold that you need, get your major items. It doesn't matter about winning the lane. All that matters is being relevant for your team.
If Year 6 biology taught me anything, it's that frogs live in long grass.
Alright, well right now, let's just take a look at the gold for a second. We do have 2 kills on Aerox, so they are actually sitting at about a 2k lead, or a 1k lead rather. Maxlord, did he just take the blue buff? Is that?
He did just take the blue buff. That's why I got upset. It's always heartbreaking when a jungler takes your blue buff, as Avril looks for a play onto Numlock, not quite able to find it. I actually thought that was a dive coming out from the bottom lane, but look at the mid.
Oh man, Thunderlord's Decree plus that Riftwalk doing a lot of damage on the reacts. He used his heal earlier.
Oh!
Now they're turning around, the Ignite goes down. DX Alchemist baits him in with a beautiful play. First kill on the board for Choke Gaming.
I thought that React would have actually won that engagement, but he was only level 5, and that is why Alchemist knew he would come out ahead. Now IOU is the target.
Yeah, the Repel does stop that knockup, but he's still kind of CC'd when he's up in the air. Lots of damage going down. The Prey Seeker does find its mark, and now the kills are equalized.
Alchemist has found the right formula to get in this game from behind. And time again we've seen him. He always gets pressured, but he always finds a way to be relevant. He was actually struggling in the last game until he picked up that quadra kill. He was struggling in the lane swap here, and now he's 1-0-1. Maxlord, brilliant piece of play there to focus down IOU as well. Oh, where do you look to exploit as Aerox Esports? Well, it's certainly not Chudak, because they seem to give no flying donkeys about him.
They did a great job last game of shutting him down. I don't know why they didn't just rinse and repeat. It's so easy to die.
No. It was way more important to pressure onto Alchemist. Don't you realise? They wanted to go for that Season 3 mid lane swap when they lose pressure on the outside turrets and essentially can't shut down the hyper carry. I think it was a perfectly viable strategy.
Well, it's not working out for them, is what we can clearly see.
I don't know if you heard the /S in my voice.
Well, right. Numlock, though, about to go into Meganar.
Numlock's struggling a lot. We've touched on it before, but just to quantify the amount that he's struggling, he's sitting about 20 CS down. That's without really much of an impact from other lanes. IOU looking to cement this lead for Argo coming up here for a lane gank. But with Numlock being forced on the tower, that might not be a good option. Milkyard rotates back into the middle lane, but he's 2 levels down. Maxlord coming in here. Milkyard doesn't have any damage right now. It's an easy pickup.
Okay, right, you're level 6, you're Rise. Okay, we're just going to imagine this. We're going to walk through this as a story. You're level 6, you're Rise. You're going up against a level 8 Caston who's already got some kills behind him. I know, let's walk up halfway through the lane without any vision, and I have no flash. How do we think that's going to end?
But it makes me wonder why they even put him back in the mid lane in the first place. Why didn't they just keep him bottom lane? I'm really confused. Alchemist, though, does get locked up under the tower.
Doesn't try and jump out of there. Maxlord tried to predict the ending of that Repel. Maybe thinking that IOU would go for some mind games there and drop early, but he did not. And as a result, IOU is going to be safe for now. Alchemist and Maxlord having a great buddy system this game, putting a lot of pressure down the mid lane. Whoever happens to be there, it has been mixed up a few times.
So not only have they put their carry mid laner behind, they've also put their bot lane behind that really had the only potential to carry the game. This mid lane swap, I'm failing to see where it was good.
I was so happy with their draft. I thought it honestly could work. They had a very similar style of composition to Choke, where they sort of have the early game with the Renekton and they sort of scale up as the game goes on. And as long as Arvaril does well, which he is doing, they can mitigate that weak early game and come in strong during the mid to late game. But for some reason they went for this lane swap. It's really backfired against them because Alchemist was able to get a kill and Milkyard is now just insanely far behind.
Got a rotation coming in here from Aerox. IOU and Milkyard both trying to make something happen. But this is one of the great things about Rek'Sai. That tremor sense completely shut down the play. There wasn't actually good wards there from Choke, but they still knew it was coming. Numlock being bold in the top lane, going in, using the hypercharge to actually stay just out of range. But here comes that Meganar. Can he find a good kill? He's going to get the wallop flashed, and Arvil's going to get away.
Yeah, Numlock managed to pick up an item, keeping himself slightly more healthy in lane. Shouldn't get 1v1. Now IOU the target for Maxlord.
Yeah, we're seeing that Abyssal Voyage come in from Tom Kent as well. Tundra wanting to get in on the action. IOU's going to flash out of there. Look at the damage on a Milkyard. The rocket flies wide, but
why go back?
He might be able to get out of this one. Tundra pops that thick skin, beats all of the tower shots, and Alchemist finds the kill.
You flash out, and then you walk back towards your enemy. Vedius, please tell me, why was that?
He lagged me. He lagged. It gets really difficult to one tower in the middle lane off the back of that. They're 4 members strong. I don't know if they're going to be able to collapse in time. They could very well go for the tier 2 tower in the mid.
So you rotate and do a 2 versus 1 in the mid lane. When you do a 2 versus 1, your primary objective is to get that tier 1 tower early.
Yep.
So difficult to do that in the mid lane because waves are so very easily shoved, and you can receive pressure.
Into the Kassadin.
Yeah, well no, but force pulse, especially in a 2v1, 2 times the abilities that you're going up against, you can charge that force pulse twice as quickly. And you can receive very early and easy pressure from the jungler. It's so much more difficult to push that mid lane turret.
Okay, so maybe we've been a bit too harsh in terms of the 2 versus 1 swap into the mid lane, because I can understand what they tried to do.
Yes, I can.
They wanted to shut down Kassadin. The way they executed it was not quite as proper as it should have been. They tried to go for a dive with Elise, which is what they should have been doing, as Numlock is very low.
Yeah, he's going to take a lot of damage. He's actually baiting in for Chewed Up. Numlock finds the kill and gets away. The crowd goes wild. And now IOU trying to go into Alchemist in the river. This is probably not a fight that you want to pick. Maxor gets it. 6 kills to 2 in favor of Choke right now. They're starting to accrue a big goal lead.
And Aerox are just falling apart at the seams. They looked like they were going to be having the Cinderella story, coming in through the winners bracket, 2-0ing some of the strongest teams in the competition, and here they are in the final, just not performing as we expected.
Yeah, we really have to highlight the fact that Aerox have been the team to beat up until now, and Choke, right when it counts, have found form, and that is so typical of Choke.
Arville teleports right into his death here. The gank comes through. Max, we're going to get eaten up. Chewed Up has the flash away. He just gets out of there. The Rocket picks up the kill, and a beautiful escape from multiple members of Choke as they find the kill.
Micro play there was absolutely fantastic. Tundra is a god on this champion right here. He knows exactly when to devour, and Chewed Up very, very fortunate with that tower aggro, but managing to make it work in his favor.
Okay, so 7-2 in favor of Choke Gaming right now. They've got a big gold lead. IOU trying to make something happen. Caught out here. The repel on it, Chewed Up. He gets the kill, but is that necessarily worth it at this point? Look at the pressure in the top lane.
I kind of feel like IOU has given up caring, and I know I like to say that, but he was sat on a pink ward, of his own pink ward that could spy out as vision ward. He wasn't trying to take it, and then he just sort of ran around.
No yard right now, caught out with no mana. 3 members on top of him. Aerox are falling apart right now. It's all coming undone at the seams. Choke Gaming, they're extending their lead every single minute. They're now at 6K.
What do you say about this? This is just, unfortunately, positional misplay after positional misplay. You have a Kassadin in the top lane, and you try and get some vision in your red side jungle when you can no longer see Kassadin in the top lane. Where is he going to be, I wonder?
It's simply a matter of they're, at this point, trying too many desperation plays. They're going for 1v1s, 2v2s. They're not paying attention to the map anymore. They're not buying any more. Well, you can't buy wards, but they're not dropping their wards. And you can see that on the map. Look how dreadful the vision control is. There's absolutely nothing you can see on the side of Aerox. Not really much for the side of Choke either, but they don't need to, considering how far ahead they are at this point.
An Alchemist 4-0-2, Rod of Ages, very early on in the game again. That's a big power spike. Also, a 15-minute Infinity Edge. That is absolutely fantastic for Chewed Up, and there is the Frozen Mallet, allowing Nard to become that split push threat once more. Choke, rinse and repeat, and they have made a very clean game of this.
They absolutely have, and arguably one of the cleanest that they've played. The early game, they struggled last time around. Aerox had that ray of hope, but they just didn't really play the early game out well this time. Now this Voyage coming in. Tundra wants to chase on to IOU, but it's going to be Arville who finds himself massively out of position. Might try and get the turnaround on the Chewed Up, but with Tundra there to eat him, it's going to be hard to do that. So we're actually spinning back into the enemy there. I'm almost certain he was trying to get Chewed Up killed, but in any case, Chewed Up is going to survive. Choke Gaming find another kill and start to really push home the advantage that they have gained.
Numlock and a solo the Dragon out here. This is just highlighting the poor vision control from Aerox Esports, allowing a singular champion to do that without his jungler. Milkyard going to get caught out at that blue buff. What can you say here? Choke Gaming above and beyond the better team.
Absolutely right now. They are showing it, and they're showing their skill in spades. Aerox, they're new kids on the block. They don't necessarily have that same level of experience that Choke does. Maybe after this they can find it, but right now they're falling apart at this at the core. IOU is in a tough spot. React actually rocket jumped into the team, but that was a good buster shot onto 4 members. It buys him some time. Arville's coming in. He might want to look for a fight.
If you could look look at Venias' face during this game, you'll say, why am I watching this clown fiesta?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just so sad because for me, Aerox Esports were the team that have come out of nowhere that were like, we're going to take I-56. They felt so confident. I know a bunch of the players. I know how happy they were to make it this far. And they're just a great bunch of guys. And I felt so happy to hear like a team outside of the top 3 making it to the top 3.
And that was the biggest thing to point out about this Best of 5 series, that this was a team who no one had heard of apart from maybe Proper Panda. They hadn't said anything on Twitter. They wanted to do all of their talking on the Rift. They came through and stormed the upper bracket. They beat Choke 2-0 early on.
Oh, Arvil, he's still got some oomph left in him, picking up Chewed Up. Very nice work by him, but DX Alchemist is now on the hunt, and that is going to be the trade coming across for Choke Gaming.
Just proving that you can actually kill Chewed Up.
He's actually died twice this game. It is as the Abyssal Voyage comes out from the flank.
Axlor is looking to set something up here with Tundra. Milkyard gonna back up under his tower. Looks like Tundra might just be coming in here for the shove onto the tower.
But I really, I feel sorry for Aerox Esports because they too owned Choke earlier on this series. They definitely had it in them to win. But what has gone wrong? Is it the fright of the stage? Is it being away from their regular PCs? There's so much that comes into live play at a live final, especially when you're on stage in front of a crowd. Teams just seem to play so differently.
Well, personally, I think there are 2 major things. Number 1 is the ability for Aerox to adapt across the series. Yes, they've been playing in best of 3s, but they won game 1 and then they won game 2. They came in as unknowns. People didn't know how to deal with them, and they also had that Ilaoi surprise factor that was doing them a lot of favors. So I think they had that unknown that was giving them a lot of advantages. But the second major point is, I think that there's plenty of the fact that they are playing on stage. There are a number of things, but there's so much room to grow from this. They just need maybe getting a coach in there, maybe getting some analysis in there, really breaking down and looking at how they can improve as a team is something that could easily fix a lot of their mistakes.
They were the wildcard team coming through.
Arvil is going to jump in here onto DX Alchemist, but this is not a fight you want to be picking. Many members of Choke Gaming are just going to gang up on you. Mute can't even flash out of here. There's just nowhere for him to go. Numlock jumps onto Milkyard, and that's 3 quick kills coming in for Choke Gaming. They're looking to secure this win.
Aerox Esports were the wild card, and Andy is completely right when he says that they had that surprise factor as IOU getting locked up. Tundra's going to throw them down. He's going to go down to Chewed Up eventually.
Man, he actually gets popped there. React finding himself a kill, but now he is alone against 4 members of Choke Gaming. The exhaust comes out, an ace for Choke Gaming as they push in for their first inhibitor of the match.
And I feel like the adaptation point is incredibly important. I think they tried to adapt, but they tried to adapt too hard. They would try to change their composition every single time. They tried to throw a different play style at Choke every single game. That's not adapting, that's trying to surprise more. And the right adaptation would have been ban Jinx.
But to me, it would have just been, they could have done small intermediate steps. They had 1 game advantage. At the minimum, Choke had to play a minimum of 3 games to win. They had plenty of room to change things up. They could have gone, okay, look, Chewed Up did a good job, we're going to ban it away from game 1. Let's see how things pan out. If nothing changes, then maybe Alchemist is the guy you need to focus. They just needed to be sequential and slow and just gradual with how they adapted rather than trying to change their playstyle as a whole.
Exactly. They had so much time to play with. What would it have hurt? What would it have hurt to ban Jinx away? Why would that have hurt in the second game of the series? If it had actually changed the series up, that could have been the winning game for them, and they could have gone through and won the final.
And imagine if they had just won 1 extra game, they could have drawn an Ilaoi ban, and maybe we could have seen that come out. Alchemist has found IOU.
He's gonna get cocooned up here, but I have a feeling the damage might be a little bit too much to deal with. IOU going down. Reacts now being the one chased upon. Numlock with a lot of slows there. Alchemist finds another pick potentially onto Arvil up in the top side of the map. Arvil does do a lot of damage though, chunking Alchemist to half health, but he's got a lot of cooldowns available to him. Alchemist just going in and out, back and forth, and actually stopping Arvil from backing here could be huge for Choke too in securing them this inhibitor. He doesn't even need to stop the back. He's going to find the kill. Milkyard gets eaten up. Tundra needs to get some bone structure Now Reacts. Milk is good for your bones.
Oh, I get you now. I was kind of wondering where you were going with that. As they start to take the inhibitor down here, Choke are looking to finalize their place as the champions of I-56.
Yeah, they are really pushing in aggressively right now, but they've got to be careful not to bite off more than they can chew up. And speaking of him, he is going to be doing some good damage onto Reacts right now. They're taking their time, being very measured about this. Reacts is trying what he can to just get the damage down. There's low members on the side of Choke. One good fight could be enough, but now Alchemist has finally made his way back in here. Milkyard, he wants a piece of the action, but the Tongue Lash comes through. Numlock's about to go Meganar. This could be a big opportunity. The wallop goes down as Tundra eats him. The AoE just isn't there for Aerox. They cannot kill any of these members. Choke Gaming, can they do this? IOU coming in. He's by himself. He gets taken down. Arville with the AoE. Everyone's splitting up from Choke Gaming. This could be massive. Reacts, he's got the potential to get resets here if he just finds 1 or 2 kills. And he does push them out of the base, barring Tundra, who's just going to take the long way.
Well, what a long-winded engagement between the two teams right there. Reacts is very nearly dying to the super minions due to the amount of pressure that they're putting down. And as much as I'd like to break down that fight, it was pretty much just straight up gold advantage that is allowing Choke to be this aggressive.
Look, we can try and analyze all we like, but to be honest, the main storyline you need to look at is how hard Aerox Esports tried to change their entire playstyle through the duration of this series. I feel like their focus was misplaced. They thought that it was them that was the problem. It's not them that was the problem. It is the fact that they're giving over huge power champions to Chewed Up and Alchemist, and it's Choke that's the problem. You know, they were thinking, oh well, that went wrong. Let's see what we can change to try and see if it goes right.
We've got 14 for 1 for 3 on Alchemist in this game, and he was not actually having a particularly good time early on in the lane. Maxlord just did such a great job of securing him that advantage. He rolled with it. There's too many things almost to ban against Choke, so I can understand wanting to address the ones you've seen before, but at this point, Aerox just needed to swap things up. Now Arville gonna be jumped on here. Numlock trying to chase it down. There's a lot of slows coming in. Sterix Gauge gets popped. Is it gonna be enough though? Just a wrecking ball. Chewed Up finds Mute. Reacts, he's gotta jump on out of here.
There are champions.
Nexus.
There are champions.
Yeah, I mean, Choke Gaming, I don't see any way that Aerox can defend this. The Nexus going down. Give it up for Choke Gaming, I-56 champions of League of Legends.
They're going to be able to take this one in dominant fashion, 24 minutes. Alchemist going to get a bit of swag as they dive onto the fountain, but what a dominant performance from them. They went down into the losers bracket, but made their way back up, and they proved that this mixed team of very talented UK players is still the best in the UK.
They were considered the shoe-in.
Aerox quite a bit, but I think they should still hold their heads up high because they were able to take games off Choke. They put up an amazing performance in I-56, and they have so much room to grow. They can only go up from this point.
I was talking to the Aerox manager, and he was